Good evening. This is a special meeting of the Groton Board of Education being held on February the 2025. It's a budget work session for the Board of Ed. And tonight in attendance, we have online Jay and Mike. And then in person, we have Matt, Jen, Adrian, Ian, and Dean. And we had the assistant superintendent, Anne Marie Mancini, Ray Engels online. And then of course, we had the superintendent because we couldn't do our work without the superintendent. So I wasn't here last night. I apologize. I was out of the state. My father was ill. I was in Mississippi. I just flew back. I just got back like an hour ago. So I'll just turn it over to Susan.
What I thought we could do is have Ray put up some of the work that was done last night. I did meet with each of the directors. I met with Lori on the phone. I was able to talk to her about some of the FTEs and some of the work that we had done last night. And I just wanted to go through and give you my my best thinking around some of these items that we've added and subtracted and how that's how doable this is all gonna be when it comes to actually implementing a budget. Can you make that any bigger? For some reason, it's hard to see.
I can make it even bigger, but I'll be sliding back and forth across the screen here.
Let me just, my eyes aren't that good back there. So we started 70,000 to add a nurse, and we really do feel, we really do feel that at that Groton Middle School, it really requires 2 full-time nurses. And so that was a really good suggestion. So we did add that 70,000. One of my recommendations, I actually had breakfast with the Paras Union, 2 people, Beth Williams and the president, Corbeil, Jen Corbeil. And we had a really good conversation. I do say that one of the things we had put down was contingency, and the reason why Irene had thought to do contingency is because we were getting ready for negotiations with the IT, custodial, secretary, and maintenance department. So I still think we need to have a contingency line and for the purpose of negotiations, whether it be one union or the other. I think we need to put in a solid number that we can work with as we go through this. So, you know, whether you do use that 375 or whether you use something like 250, 300, whatever it is that you decide. But I think we do need something in there for that. I don't think we should call it, you know, just an increase for a particular group, but I think we need to think about the tasks that we have before us in this next year that starts really this spring. So, you know, that I would say if you could put, and I don't know what that number is, if you wanted to talk about it now, or if you want me to go through this and then we can talk about each item. But I do feel like we do need a contingency.
Go through it, then we can come back to each.
All right. My suggestion for the 5 tutors is I'm writing a DODEA grant. It's all about math. I'm not really putting administration in, I'm putting in tutors. I'm putting in, you know, extra support to run the grant. But the project person could also be some kind of an assistant leader who could also help lead the tutors and help teach the tutors. So what you had said, Matthew, about the high dose tutoring and the high effects in middle school. And I heard all of you say for elementary, we need something like that. I feel like that's going to be really a powerful way to be able to do it, but we wouldn't have to put it in the operation budget and it would be for 5 years. So we go down to, and I don't know if you want to highlight that too, Ray, just as my suggestion that we.
You want me to mark it up as a 0 or how do you?
Well, I think we go, I'll tell you, and then we can go back to it.
Okay, I'll keep quiet.
So then we go down to the 80,000 for the special ed teacher, and I do see that that's a need for the IEPs in those two larger schools and the caseloads. So that is absolutely gonna help us at the elementary level. And then that contingency, if you orange that out, and I'm kind of thinking of partnering line 5 with 10 and putting something in there that's gonna be able to take care of the people that we need to take care of in this coming year. Of course, I asked Clint again, and he said he absolutely can do with the 51, thousand and move it, like, we'll think about that, adding that part back in next year. But we know that the health benefits, the workman's comp, the fuel adjustment, and the 200 electricity is our best guess at this point, and it's gonna actually stabilize, for next year, I think. The FTE realignment, we know for sure, the 137 deduction, because it had been, a couple positions had been put in 2 different categories, and we didn't need to double up. And then the sub teachers, and talking to Lori, she said, Susan, there's no way we can reduce 100,000 in subs. That it's just not doable, that it'll probably put a deficit in the budget for next year. So I would say, let's take the 100,000 definitely out of general school supplies. But I'm not thinking that we can do that for subs. And then going down to, if you highlight business teacher, the social worker, the counselor, and the 5.5 ASL, that's really gonna be dependent. And I know our budget hits before the kids sign up for the classes. So if it worked the other way around, we'd be in good shape because we would know what the classes are that the kids are signing up for. But I told you that we have Power School Scheduler, someone coming in to help work with our admin team, and they've had, this is the 3rd year of this. So they're getting really good at filling up those classrooms the right way and getting those stable numbers in there. So that's what my hope is again. I don't know that, maybe the business teacher, I know my heart goes for the social worker because it's not only NEA, it's CB and NEA. So those, we might need those things. I'm just not sure. And then of course, the 15,000, the 5,000, that's fine. The 10,000 in my budget, 331. I think I thought that was doable, but it could be cutting into, it's gonna cut into professional services, so. Now, the next 2 lines that are the HR, superintendent, and district-wide, I don't see that we can cut those. I went and reviewed that with Lori, and she said, absolutely not. Besides our salaries, there's very little money in there. Could we streamline travel a little bit? Yeah. I mean, are there a couple things, but when it comes to recruiting and having an intern, who we can grow our own teacher, who can come into the classroom, I think that's too valuable to let that go. That was like 35,000. So those 3 things, I'm not sure that we can do all that. Maybe there's a way that I can look at it very carefully to give you my best recommendation of how much we can cut there. And then 10,000 for IB testing. It shouldn't just be IB testing. And if we ask parents to start paying for testing, you have 54% or maybe 63% now who are free and reduced lunch. So you wouldn't ask them. And there is some, state does give back, I think, for APs. So there is some that we could have come back to us. But honestly, my problem is when we did that, when kids were charged, they stopped taking the test. So they went through all that work, they didn't take the test. And, even some of your high performers or kids whose parents can't afford it, they might opt out taking the test if they have to pay for it. You just don't know. I think we've had such success of getting more kids to take the courses, those really wonderful level courses, and to be courageous enough to take the test. I think last year only 7 kids didn't take the test, and that's phenomenal out of all those kids who are taking those courses. So now we did talk about 2,500 for our RGC out of 50,000, I think that's doable.
Actually, I thought we said 1,250.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 2.5%.
Right.
Yeah, because I had originally suggested 10,000.
Is it that your suggestion, Jen?
No, last night, they 1,250,
Talking about
They would-
Yeah, the
your RGC.
My-
1,200?
1,200.
250, yeah.
That's not a lot. Go ahead.
I know.
1250 is not.
Yeah, it's not,
It's not my 10.
it's not like
It's
10.
doable. It's
I mean, it's
Yeah.
very minimal. Why bother?
Well, I
Go ahead,
guess,
keep going.
oh, sorry.
Keep going.
Okay, well, there's not that much more, the software, you know, we re-looked at the software, we've looked at some usage reports, and the software that we combed through it, a lot was lost after our Besser, you know, they were giving us everything at one point, the state, and then they charged us for it, and we stopped getting the things that we weren't using and that we didn't feel were valuable. So a lot of work has already gone into this, knowing what software we need, so we've already streamlined that software. If there are future, if we see the software, or the prices go up because they've gone up, like they used to be 14,000 for Lexia, and then they became 45,000 within a couple of years. That's how much these software, so we don't have more software. Software has quadrupled in price. So we have to be really strategic about what is working for kids and, you know, get the biggest bang out of our buck. And then the math field trips, I asked, and there were no real field trips in those core areas except for Project O. And I didn't, get back from Matt, but I just not sure what that math field trip. So until I know what the field trip is for, I hate to take it away if it's a viable, you know, trip. So
What kind of field trip is that?
I asked Matt and I didn't get the response. He was probably pretty busy today.
Wow, if he wants that field trip, he should have answered.
I know, well, I put it in an email, so that's never a good way. I should have texted it to him.
Mm.
So those are my thoughts, and I know everybody's been thinking long and hard, and you've all been working hard on this, but I agree. I think everybody's talking about, I love that 6.5 number. I don't know what it was about it. But,
It's reasonable to me.
and you know, I was really pleased, but then, like we said, there were some energy costs and things that crept up on us that we wanted to make sure we had the money in the budget for next year. And Ray gave us his best, you know, judgment on what he thought we needed to add to that. So that's just, you know, my thoughts on things.
So, Jen, I see you want to say something, Jen?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
So this goes back to my question from last night, you know, because I couldn't get over the fact of like salaries increasing at like 5.6 when contractually, maybe it's like 3.5, right? So that's roughly $1 million. So I finally did it myself because I took the FTEs from 25 and 24 and compared it because I kept saying, like, yes, Dean did the math, it's 2.5%. But what it's happening is the base increase. And when I did the FTE comparison, we ended up like, and maybe I could be slightly off, right? Because I did it sort of fast. We ended up increasing the staff by 48 FTEs, 16 in certified, 25 in non-certified, and then 8.5 in enterprise. So those are additional FTEs that are now baked into our budget that maybe got in there at zero funding, but now as we're voting for this budget, because it's part of the number, we're gonna be voting this in. And when I did it for the 25 for the non-certified, we ended up with 17 more paras, and these are just the categories. I don't necessarily know if, you know, because some categories had multiple things. 13 more tutors, 9 more bus classroom aides. Security stayed the same. So that's what I'm seeing. There is a decrease in that non-certified section. Custodians went down about 5. So On the certified side, we have 7 less teachers. And then I couldn't get through all of the other categories. So that's my concern, right? We built in an extra $1 million roughly for positions that were never funded. And I know some of it is based on, like the demands of the students.
Did you get the nurses?
Nope, this is strictly, I did it by categories. So this is not including the nurses.
So the paras are by IEP required, and we don't have all those positions filled at this time. So we have to use sub-paras to be able to take care of the needs of kids per an IEP.
Mhm. But this is why I asked the question yesterday, is this all positions, whether they're filled or not, or butts and seats? And the answer was all positions. So I'm doing a all position from 24 to all positions in 25 comparison. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but we don't have them all filled, just to let you know.
Okay,
So
but
we have butts and seats.
so then,
We would like to get more people in, but we don't have.
but we can't, we're increasing the base. And so that's where like why we're spinning, because we can't decrease in like some of the other categories, because there is no place to decrease in the other categories, because inherently, right, the funds have been siphoned from the non-salary lines to fund some of those positions, or if not, they were hired with zero. And then now it's getting funded in this budget request. So that's how I see it. I just did the FTEs.
Confused by that thinking, but
It's really simple. This is why we were asking at the very onset, do a FTE change. The fact that I actually had to do it is not fun. And there's an increase of like roughly 28. So,
of non-certified business.
non-certified's 25, certified's 16, enterprise is 8.5.
But the certified, is that the nurses?
No, it's not.
Oh.
I told you what it was.
Certified, we were down 7. Certified.
So for the, non-certified, it's 7 more paras, 13 more tutors, 9 more bus aides. That's what I could see. I did it really fast. If I wanted to take the time and do each category.
And the bus aides are per IEP too, for special education.
Okay, but do you see where I'm coming from? Because now we're hiring these positions, but they weren't part of our original base. So they're new positions that are getting added to this current year budget request.
Totals you were working with from 24, 25, and 26 with parents.
So for paras, you originally had 152, and then now we're at 157. For tutors, you originally had 19.5 last year, and now it's 32. Classroom bus aides was 29.75, and now it's 38.25.
The bus aides we couldn't get last year, paras we couldn't get last year. The 157 is reflective of numbers in an IEP. So
Mhm.
you add and subtract, and I think Denise explained that nicely, that it goes through the year, with the needs of the students and, but typically we end up at that number 208, which includes the extra 45 that are in the IDEA. So that's pretty standard.
So it's pretty standard to add 40 people. And so next year, if we vote on this and it changes again.
It ends up at that 208 number.
So where's the 208 number? I'm trying to, I think you're at
That's the number I remember.
but are we, but Jen, you're on the green tab, I think. So
Yeah,
I'd just like to follow
the green tab.
and
And then I
changes
use
that?
the, well, mine's like the green tab before the page numbers got on it.
So what are you saying here, that we have too many positions?
No,
208 should be lower?
no, what I'm saying is we now have positions built in to the 25-26 requests, which
Mhm.
weren't originally part of the 24-25.
Mhm.
So those are new positions. And so now when we're asking for funds, it includes funds for 48 positions that we never had last year.
Mhm.
And so this is where I keep coming back. But at the end of the year, we're always at zero. So the funds have to come from somewhere, and the only place I can think of are like the non-salary lines, or there were some extra dollars in the salary lines that weren't attached to positions. All I'm saying is that it's a slow creep increase, and that's like why, if we've been sitting here saying like, what's going on, where is it coming from? And that's where it's coming from.
On the 48 position.
Mhm.
And I can't count up 48 from what your math. I know there were 5 EL tutors that we added, and I said that, and then
Mhm.
parents for the IEP, that's gonna change each year. But the standard typically is that you end up with that average of about 208 between the IDEA and the operating budget.
That's
I'm okay. I'm all set. Like, if I really have to do this manually, I can,
So
but I did it high.
Are you unhappy with the 48 positions
I
or?
don't think there's 48. 48.
Yeah,
I am, because as as a Groton resident, I love and I want to make sure that our kids are supported. But we need to take care of the kids. We need to take care of the teachers. As you guys know, I'm always focusing on the kids, but at the end of the day, we also need to focus in on some of the
So are you
taxpayers.
suggesting that we eliminate these 48 positions?
Not eliminate, but we need to reevaluate, like we vetted all of these other ones. So if it means like, hey, last year we only had 20 tutors or 19.5 tutors in the budget, and now in the one that we're proposing, it's 32. And so that's a change of 13. We need to say, yes, we want 13 additional tutors.
Under the guidance of the superintendent, because she knows more than we know.
Yes,
Okay, I just want to
Yeah.
get that straight.
I just want to make sure, like,
Just
yeah,
want to get that straight, because we don't know, because we're not
Mhm.
operating.
Exactly.
So like special ed with EL students, they have needs, so we
Mhm.
have to hire enough tutors to support their needs. And we are considered really a bilingual district, so to let you know that.
all right, so I guess what I'm hearing, and my question based off of that analysis and a number of other comments from other people that have had trouble reconciling the FTEs. Are we budgeting for positions that are unfilled and will likely remain unfilled by regular staff, full-time staff?
The paras has been very hard to fill. Yes, we still have unfilled positions.
So how
for our
many-
paraprofessionals.
Right, from 2024 to the 25 budget still has unfilled positions.
Right,
Right.
that's what I know to date. I don't know what's gonna happen next year.
Right, so I think that's one crux that we need to explore a little bit. Now, are we budgeting for unfilled positions that are not likely to be filled? Two, I think, I don't know, there's a lot of, I think we need a clean look at, the positions that are articulated underneath each function code, like by title and salary, so that we can get a better understanding of like how many positions are attached to each one. Because sometimes there's discrepancies too in the narrative
It's been pretty
where,
clearly
if
laid
I could
out.
just finish my thought, because it's not, because there's grant funding as well. And as Dean pointed out the other night, it would help clarify a lot of confusion if we just could get a look at every single employee that we have here and then identify where the fund is coming from. Because the other night we were mentioning like 6.5 paras were added in, were like not included in the budget, but were being covered by a grant. So we might see that somewhere else.
45 are covered by IDEA. We've been
Right.
saying that.
Where are those identified in our budget?
They aren't, because this is your operating budget.
Right,
This is what we are spending, that the town is supporting us with. Grants come in. And those are additional positions.
but the grant
I
funded
mean,
positions sometimes end up becoming operational budget.
At this point, Those 45 have been, for the 11 years I've been here, I've been through IDEA.
Having them on the radar would be useful.
They are on the radar. I'm telling you right now,
Are
45.
they identified in this?
They're IDEA.
Yes. Yeah,
45.
So they're not in
They're
the
there.
basic part of the budget, they're under the grant.
Right,
So when you see IDA grants, that's where those 45 positions are.
Yeah.
Because we're not paying for them out of the Board of Ed budget. We're paying for them out of grants.
okay. The other thing too is just, the phrase informed consent has been kind of echoing in my head over the past, informed consent. And I think that's what we, you know, at least I know that's what I'm. All my questions and all my attempts at wrestling with these numbers is just seeking an ability to have, so when I give my consent, or if I give my consent on this budget, you know, for my own vote, it's from a position of being informed. So, you know, it's not meant to be adversarial. It's not meant to be, you know, in any way confrontational. It's more about just getting the information I feel I need as a board member so I can best defend the budget.
And that's why the FAQs are so important to me, that you all are able to ask questions, and even if you don't understand the answers, I'm able to go a little deeper and try to help you to understand.
So, yeah, I'll follow up.
All right, Mike, and then let's go over the list here. that
All right.
Susan gave us.
Yeah, so I sent you all a few days ago an email about I think the green tab where it lays out this high level staffing FTEs. I really think that needs a narrative that explains that at least states that changes from last year's adopted budget. I think that'd be really helpful because there are added positions, and in my view, the rationale for a lot of them is quite strong. But it's in the budget document itself, just in this budget document, you don't get that high level view of it. You'd have to then dig down into function codes and start adding things up. Like I was trying to figure out, we've increased the aids. I'm less sure about that for me personally, but in trying to figure out, I can see in some places it went up, some places the numbers went down. And so you have to chase through probably like 5 or 6 function codes after looking through all of them. Actually, you got to look through all of them and find the 5 or 6 to add up. So I really think it's important as this goes to other levels that we have the narrative. And Jen, I didn't have exactly the same numbers you did, but because I didn't look at the enterprise part of things, but I did have that in my email, at least the BOE funded part. That's what I had.
I
And
think we did add that to your frequently asked questions. I don't know if you had
add
a
which,
chance to look at that,
the what?
all of your questions.
Yeah.
That you did put in.
This wasn't a question.
Oh, okay.
It was just comparing. So I sent an email, what I think should be a core of so we have a narrative box for each of the function codes. I think we need one at the green tab level. It's
So you want a narrative on any positions that were added?
added or removed, at least the net, because the green tab, it's got these rather broad categories, but very helpful. There's certified staff and then there's uncertified staff. And we've got 5 or 6 columns for each. And so it's actually you're able to see it at a high level. For instance, I don't think anywhere in the budget, it says how many new FTEs we have compared to what was in last year's budget. As far as the subtotal for the BOE budget funded part, this proposed budget, before we made these changes, any of them, is up by 35.6 FTEs. And then you'd get, I got it as maybe up by at least 40 some when you add in the
Like that.
enterprise and the grant funded. So I think that's really important to state because we have to have a very strong rationale for that. So that's the most important number. And then this breakdown of it will go pretty quickly. So total administrators, it's decreased by half FTE because we removed special services coordinator position. Very quick to say. Total certified teachers, the net it was increased by 5.1 FTE. You could stop there, but you could also say that there's a 1.1 increase in classroom teachers at the elementary and middle school levels, but then there's a decrease at the high school. There was 5 for special ed, which we know we have a strong need for in this in the school system, and a growing need for it. And we have broad support for that. But then there was a decrease in the media specialists. I think either at Fitch or just that's now bridging. You have one position bridging middle school and high school. And that was through retirement. And that was mentioned as we went through the function codes, but I think we need to bring that stuff up. So that's the total certified teachers up by 5.1. The paras, tutors, aides, and security, that's a big increase. So that's the bulk of it. 21.2 FTEs. And the
You have 21.2.
increase for paras, tutors, and security. And the paras are down by 1.7, the tutors are up by 11. And then the increased aides are up by 12.5. Myself, I'd like to dig into that just a little bit at some point. No changes in security. And then the coordinators, trainers, and the BCBA is down by 0.6. But, so it's a large increase in FTEs there, but tutors and aides are probably that's really directly, mostly right on the students, right in the student needs. And so that's where I think the narrative could be really helpful. The next big column, and there are only a couple more of these, a total clerical custodial maintenance increased by 9.8 FTEs. Clerical went down by 1.7 overall. Custodial went down by 3. Maintenance went down by 0.5, and then boom, here are the nurses and health aides. And that'll go up a little bit more if we,
Did you email that to us?
yeah, it was all emailed to you probably on Sunday, I'd say. And that's it, actually. And then that adds up to the 35.6 FTEs. So I have questions still about the aides for me, but all the other stuff, I think we've kind of voiced broad support for, because for me, it's my first time seeing the scores and presented as a Board of Ed member, but while there's been improvement, it's clear there's a mandate to do more. So
So
say it
the
that way.
aides are not part of the para union.
Yeah.
They are kindergarten aides, recess aides. They're really mostly part-time aides.
Yeah.
And then our bus aides. And those positions can be hard to fill, but we have some kindergarten aides who've been with kindergarten teachers like their whole career.
But I think what Mike wants to know, he
Yeah.
wants in the narrative, explain all this in the
Right, okay.
narrative.
Yeah.
Just
So when
their
we go
titles
before
so
the
that they
town
understand
council,
what
we
these
can
people
defend
do.
it, yeah,
Oh,
or why you did it. why you-
just you,
The pluses and minuses.
if you're okay with it, just take that email core and just maybe you can add rationale if you want,
Yeah.
check the numbers. But I think it'd be really helpful because
Yeah.
by the time you get down to the function codes, yeah, I've been on RTN for a long time. You're spending that much on computer
Yeah.
software?
Yeah.
Oh,
44,000 in 3 years. It's awful.
And so chasing it down is hard. The aides, though, they're also special ed aides as well.
And that would help Jen with her comments, if
Yeah.
if you can explain
that would
why
help,
we had
Jen?
that.
If we had a narrative on this.
Well, what
I'm-
Mike, he wants an narrative.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the narrative. It's just the fact that they were hired and there was no budget associated with them. And then now they're part of the base that we're requesting. Do you know what I mean? Because now you've inherently increased, right? And that's what RTM and town council,
So that's what the narrative will help, why
Yes.
we're gonna
And
put
it,
them in the budget.
it, in schooling where there are children in needs and specific needs, whether it's special ed or EL or, or other needs that you do have to hire sometimes support staff to help them. And like you said, Mike, they're the ones who are closest to the child.
Mhm.
When that child needs support, you have to get it,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
that,
it's offset by the ones that you haven't hired. So we really never hired them all. So there's money in the budget because you can't always hire all of these people.
yeah, but when you say in an ideal world where everybody's
Right.
hired, we're now over.
Right.
This this
knew we were.
this increase
Mhm.
yielded around $1 million.
I'm not so sure about that, but I could check. We could-
Yeah, well, just take however.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what all I did, so you could see how I did it, was I took the salaries and wages from the 25 to the salaries and wages proposed for the 26. And I said, okay, if I take the 25 salary, give that a 3.5% increase, right? So that comes out to 1.9 million. The overall increase is 2.8. So then other is 900,000. So that's how I came up with it. And that's that. So,
And any positions that in the budget that we didn't pull. Can you tell us what they are? Yeah, let's go over the student list, we're getting sidetracked a little bit.
Did you want to enter?
Does everybody have a list?
We've discussed a good number of these already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible
Yeah.
to let Dean make it, is it possible to let me, Dean, make a comment?
Right. But whenever you tell us if we keep doing this, so.
I thought you said
Keep going.
exercise.
Go ahead.
So I was gonna say something about steady state, right? That'll be very cryptic to everybody. I've mentioned this before. I've heard references to, the position, we're looking at the operating budget, the position, not the operating budget. To me, the school system, the school budget is the operating budget, and then there's a capital budget, two budgets. If the school district had bought a McDonald's franchise, we would have a third budget. It's the way the town does it. So I find it confusing when we have certain positions, because they're funded or were funded by grants, they're off the books, so to speak. They're in another book, if you will. It would be much simpler for me, and I don't know what the standards are for putting together a, Board of Ed budget. It'd be much simpler for me to see everything, people and stuff that we use to operate the school district, leaving aside capital improvements, new roof, things like that. In one place with an indication of this is how much is being funded by the town, this is how much is being funded by, if there's a grant that's specific to a function, if there's a whatever, put that in there so we can tell. Yes, I know this is a $3 million item. However, 2 million's coming from the town, the other million's coming from Perkins or something. That see all the FTEs, because it feels like FTEs appear, disappear, they appear and disappear. And if you know anything about the steady state theory, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a cosmological thing. It's confusing. I like to see all the FTEs in one place,
Page 42.
regardless of how they're funded.
4.2 has that, what you're talking about.
Right, but is that then reflected in the fives? Is that reflected in the pinks? Can I match up the one section with another section? So are all the FTEs all the same? That's,
That shows the page where they are in the budget.
So if he takes this page and he goes to the, wherever they are in the budget, where they match up, that's what So if you're saying this page,
Reference that, and Lori would know, but she's not here to tell me. But I,
yeah, so I mean, obviously principles are easy enough because it's a small number, but once you get into the larger
and we don't have
figures,
anybody grant funded there.
I understand. Yeah, don't we wish? So classroom teachers, large number, as for example, and also aides. So it's possible some of these are grant funded. So in other words, in the section that's just the FTEs, these are the real totals, right?
Mhm.
So I should be able to see these numbers, or at least if I add up, say, classroom teachers, we add up to 293.6. If I run through all the function codes and add up all the teachers, I should get to that exact same number.
right,
And they might be, Dean, they might be in the narrative. For instance, the social workers. There are 4 in the operating budget, but then there are
You mean in the narrative
the
too?
narrative 2 social workers, for instance.
Yeah, the
They've
narrative-
got Title I has 4 of them included, but then the rest,
Yeah, so,
social work. And the problem is they don't split it out. It's bilingual, hearing impaired, psychology, speech, language, special ed support, which could be social work. So it makes it a little more complicated to see who's who.
10 seconds. If we spent a lot of time, I'm doing it now, but we spent a lot of time going FTE, what's the FTE? And that should never be a question right out of the gate. It's like, how many bodies, sorry, Matt, how many bodies are we employing regardless of how they're funded? That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of confusion and I'm sure it's partially on our part.
Well, I think, and that's what I think these graphs and charts tried to accomplish was to see the totality of how many we're hiring. Whether it's from grants or whether it's from the operating budget.
Yeah, but even grant funded positions are operating. They're just paid for differently. But
That's,
that,
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I agree with that
Yeah,
point. That's
yeah,
what I was trying to say earlier.
Yeah, but they just don't come out of our budget.
It'd be good to see.
they are in our budget. They're just not,
Not if they're grant
They're
funded.
just supported by another source of revenue.
Well,
that's exactly what I'm getting at. It's nice when they're grant funded. We should know when they're grant funded and all that sort of stuff. It should be in one place.
Mm.
Because otherwise we're talking about two different budgets if you don't count the capital budget.
so
So wait, hold on. What would you like to see, Dean?
Regardless of,
We're getting to the end of all.
yeah, I know, but
Next
but
week.
I'm not gonna see it in this budget. It's a restructuring of this, of
Okay.
the presentation.
All right,
So I'm not gonna see it. We'll talk about it another time.
okay,
Finance and facilities.
okay.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I agree, it's far too late to do anything this year, but I have always wondered why we turn, a budget for me is what you're going to spend. Wherever the source of the funding is. So if we're going to spend $1 million, you can have two columns. Town comes under our operating budget that goes to the town, and the other column is other sources. And then a number goes in, $40,000 from other sources. Footnote explains that we've got to be, the word transparent is so hackneyed and overused, but it is not transparent, not because anybody's doing anything wrong or trying to hide anything, but it's just not easy to understand. I know you consistently, Susan, come back saying, well, and you do, and we don't doubt you. But if we're not understanding it, then how in the blazes is the RTM supposed to understand it? I'm done.
All right, so maybe if you.
For next year.
What Mike has suggested.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really
That
good
might help
idea. I'm gonna
understand
help
it.
with that narrative.
But let's look at for next year,
Yeah.
maybe having it
We used to have,
locally funded, outside funded, total to be funded.
there was a chart that in the last budget that we could resurrect that does exactly that. It lays out all the grants. It even had the arbessers at one point, you might remember. And what those grants were for and how they funded. So that might be something I can add to it as well.
I'd like to see that in each function code. It may be redundant to see, one line saying this is all coming from the town, it's all coming from the town. I see FTEs, the dollars belonging to those FTEs. And there should be like a little narrative not a narrative at the bottom, but something at the bottom that says, this money is coming from, and then list the sources that's gonna pay for, if you know, or if you want to apportion.
And if I could just build on that thought real quick. That's why I think having a more articulated budget in the function codes, where you could have titles and positions, that would also give you the opportunity to identify where the funding is coming for those positions. The line items.
I move we go back to this year's budget.
So I just wanted, I think, Dean and I are on the same page with that, as far as that goes,
Oops,
yeah.
Would you think?
nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Is it, we're talking about FTEs? Can we move on from the FTEs?
Yeah.
I was wondering if we could add a reduction to the list. I can wait for it.
Well, let
Anytime.
Susan go back
Yep.
up to this.
Yep.
All right, so
So-
next year do a better job on the FTEs, but in the
Yeah.
meantime, maybe what might
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
narrative.
I agree. And I can even get that page, at least you'd have one page that shows all the grants and what they've accomplished. So my strong recommendation is that under contingency, and you figure out the dollar amount, but knowing that we have
Well, wait,
basically.
go back to the first one. You
70.
started off with 70,000.
And I agree with that. I think that's definitely a check in my book.
So
and I
does
think that
everybody
sounds
agree
like-
with that?
We already voted on that. too.
Yeah, we did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I'm just going back to it. So that should be quick,
Yeah.
right? All right. Except for
I know
Michael.
you voted for the para situation, but we did, and we took away contingency.
You
but
didn't want the
weren't
nurses.
Thinking about the negotiations that we have. in front of us. So I think we need enough that could do something for each group. And so whether you take the 120 and bump it up to 250, 300, or I just don't, I think 375 is really high. But you all decide what you want to do, but I think we need, thinking about those two union groups that we have in front of us.
Yeah.
I think we need to think about something.
Michael.
So when you say that, so is it because their contracts were in open up negotiations
Like this spring.
off cycle or on?
No,
cycle?
it's
No,
on
it's
the
on
4-year.
So,
For custodial and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you and that
maintenance,
committee-
IT and
So-
secretary.
yeah, that's right. So it's this spring, you mean?
Yes.
And so
It's
that,
gonna be for 26, so we have to be prepared.
and so when would that, like, those would kind of go in effect, not the start of this school year, but like halfway through, or not the start of next school? When do they go to
When does
effect?
the contract
Yeah.
expire?
Yeah,
I thought it was at the end of this year, so it would have to, yeah,
The end of June 30th.
Yeah.
It expires.
so we have to be
and
ready
that's,
for next year's budget. We have to have,
so the pair, so wait, so yeah, just laid out for me,
so it's.
just the
maintenance,
paras, for instance.
Custodian,
Okay, I'll go maintenance. cost.
maintenance custodians, secretaries are now added and
Yeah.
IT. So
In
it's a-
one union,
Yep, it's in one union.
and that contract is up when?
And we start negotiations this spring.
And, but
And-
when,
and we have to have it ready for them, I think by the end of June,
right, but when does, the new
July.
contract?
July 1st.
July.
Oh, okay, so that will definitely.
Pending. It's right here with us. So
Okay.
It's really something I want to make sure you all understand that we have to be prepared.
And what is the union, actual name of the union, or if you don't have it, I'll just,
It's all of those things, maintenance, custodian, IT
Okay.
and secretaries.
right,
The secretaries don't have their own.
No, they used to, but they
Yeah, that's
have,
what I
they're
thought
all
they used to
together
have.
now.
you just hit a lot of core functions with that.
Yeah, you do.
That was a last.
Boots on the
minute
ground.
Thing. We thought we were negotiating with one bargaining unit and then it's oh, by the way,
Oh, yeah. You remember that one?
another group.
Yeah.
Got it.
So because we're gonna negotiate, we have to have money in the budget for next year.
Yeah. And then the paras are not up next year.
No, they're in 2 more years.
Yeah.
But we've talked about, incentives for,
Let's not get sidetracked with
Yeah.
that. So stick with the contingency.
So then you're saying like that 375 up with the paras, that would go into the contingency?
Mm.
I'd be good with
Well,
that.
I would put both of them. So you take something for the parents and something for this other union and put it together under
The contingency.
contingency, I would say, because it's contingent. What you want to decide to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
but
I, so
Wait.
just to
Go
end,
ahead, Michael.
I certainly don't want to, in this budget, codify a pay increase. Like, that seems way out of
Yeah,
any
I-
normal relation with employees. So I would, however, be very supportive of having that in contingency.
That's how I,
So, and that's easy to articulate.
and that could be.
I got Ian Hughes on my ear.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you. So basically, we're looking at, if we combine, so basically get rid of the increased paraprofessional wages line. And just add more into contingency for a total of about. You're thinking, if we put the two together, you're looking at like 477.
I wouldn't even go that high. I would say something like 250,
250.
300.
Okay.
Yeah, 250, two.
I think that would. What are your thoughts, Ray, since you're behind the scenes? How do you feel about that?
I would go 250, but it's up to the board. I would make my suggestion around 250. That'll offset this and it'll do part of up here.
I kind of feel at least 250.
You'll say.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'd like a clarification. If we're putting 2 functions into this contingency, one function being perhaps an incentive to retain and maybe increase our paras, and another function to prepare for the negotiations. I'm a little concerned about, well, I'm looking for the clarification is, how slushy are those funds? So should we be segregating those functions? Should we have an understanding that within the contingency, X is for one and Y is for the other?
Ray,
Or is
I
it
would
going to?
look to Ray for that because he's.
Well,
the budget
that's a
director.
policy, but that's a policy decision. That's not Ray's decision. That's a policy decision.
I think contingency can
It's
have
not
a
a
number of
policy because
things.
we're doing it on budget.
Well, I didn't mean policy in the sense of the policy committee, but that is,
Well, that could be the board's decision.
That's
if we
what I
want to
meant.
Do it that way.
yeah.
Contingency typically is
Split it
like,
up.
if something breaks down, you'd have,
But here we're putting in two discrete things that we've said we want to do. And I would hate to say that at some point we said, well, we needed to take this from that and the other function doesn't happen. I don't want to see the other function not happen.
we
Understood.
won't really know. There's an unknown here. There's actually a couple.
Lots of unknowns.
The unknown is that we're beginning negotiations, and so we can't really.
No, but he's not saying that. He's just saying about tying them in one big lump sum. How do you all feel about that? Tying it, the contingency, the paras and our negotiations into one big lump sum?
Well, I'll say this, is that, for me, the math doesn't quite seem to work because we were talking between 250 and 375 just to cover a possible para wage increase.
Mhm.
And then we were talking about 102,000 or so in contingency as it was. So already we're at 3 to 350.
What was that money in contingency budgeted for?
That was for the maintenance.
That was for the
and,
mountains.
Right, so
So you just,
add those two together, we got
I
350.
think that's awfully
Yeah.
high. I think if we want to say, I think that's coming in real high and we're negotiating without negotiations. So I think we have to be careful.
so we already have $100,000
We
in
do.
contingency.
Yeah,
So I think Ian's point is, so say you wanted to put 250,000 for maintenance and for that group that we're negotiating, you don't have to put 250,000 because you already have 100,000.
Right.
You only have to put 150,000 in.
well, I was thinking 250 for both.
Right,
No.
because that brings
Not at
that
all.
line up to 250, just with negotiation.
It's as
We're
written.
talking 375, we had that on the board. Possible.
So
375?
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
I wasn't here, but I don't think I voted,
That
I
was-
didn't vote for that.
That was the
Everyone-
dollar fifty that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was away, it was down in that
This was
figure.
last week though, this week you were here?
You were
Yeah, but,
Voted on that.
but I'm saying.
And it was 375.
When I
we
was
dropped it
away, I thought about that,
It's
and I
just-
was not gonna support that again.
down. Okay.
I was gonna support $1, that's
Well,
it.
all I'm saying is that's the number that
That's
was
all
on
I'm
the
saying.
sheet, on the tracker that we had.
And laminated that in
Now-
my mind,
now,
and I
okay,
go,
so-
that is too much money.
You don't have that kind of.
That was not just,
Yeah, okay,
all I was going was off the notes from the last meeting and.
Want me to put it back?
Irrespective of the amount,
You know,
may I?
so
no, wait,
That's-
let Ian finish.
I'm just saying like. Okay,
I do
so,
support something for the parish, but I thought that was too much.
and if we want to put in contingency also doesn't necessarily mean it's all dedicated for that purpose. It's a
Yeah.
contingency fund. You also,
We could
you also
earmark it
identify
the way-
contingency as possible to cover like blown boilers and, other like
I just think
catastrophic.
that's the category
maintenance.
people use.
I know.
I don't think though, Dean, can the board have a contingency for blown boilers and
Well,
stuff?
that's
like
why it was sold to us in the beginning,
I think that's why you have the non-lapsing funds.
but that's already been tapped out. We have nothing left in that.
I know, but I'm just saying, I don't think the board,
I don't know,
Is-
yeah.
can we have a contingency?
Isn't that called a sinking fund?
Right,
No,
our
but
contingency,
Yes.
right,
Yes,
in budgets, are contingencies allowed?
and most districts do have one. Well, not every district, but most do, and it's a separate line.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because one
Yeah,
time,
It is permissible. What's that?
at one time, the board could not have a contingency line.
You are correct. At one time, they were not allowed, correct.
So I just have a point of information. That C column is the dollar change. So that 250,000 gets added on to what was
Yep.
in the budget already, which is 102,000, bring it up to, 352,000 in there. But that's not enough to cover the 375 you wanted. I'm just pointing out that it's at
Well-
352 at this point.
And honestly, it's not that I wanted it or
No,
not,
no,
I just
just-
want my notes
Yeah.
to reflect reality.
Yeah.
And it, like, my notes were based on the conversation we had last week. So like, I mean, I don't know, like, I just was confused by the shift in numbers without like an explicit discussion about it.
Well, that's what
That's
we
all.
brought it to your attention, so you can have a discussion.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to having a discussion on the contingency line. How's that? So what do you suggest for the negotiations? What should we budget for negotiations?
We predetermine a number out loud. That's,
Yeah.
Well, that's what you did.
well, I said, we put that number in a whole thing
So then the question is,
for,
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, originally the contingency was given to us as the idea of like a reserve fund for like unforeseen maintenance problems. That we could tap into if we needed to, if not, then we would go into the non-lapsing fund or be like, allocated somewhere else in a fourth quarter transfer of some sort to cover a shortfall.
and now we're
You know,
talking
Penn-
about using it for negotiations.
Right, so if we're gonna continue with the idea of a contingency fund, which you're legally allowed to do, then let's just call it contingency for all number of things. Come up with an umbrella amount that is broad enough to kind of cover what we anticipate might be needed by a contingency, plus a little bit to cover the emergency things. And just call it that, and we're not specific to, oh, this much is in there for this much is in there for that, because we don't know what the negotiation is gonna produce, and we don't know what boiler's gonna blow out next.
Okay, that sounds good
Or
to
what
me.
truck?
But I'm not supporting $1.50 for the parents.
Well, we were not negotiating with them right
Yeah,
now.
Okay. All right.
right.
No, we're not, but we were
Right.
talking about increasing the salary.
You just get a really expensive boiler.
New trucks.
So Matthew, and then let's talk about, we gotta move this
Yeah, we gotta
along.
move.
So let's talk about what we think is the ideal number. Matthew, does this have to do with contingency or you're gonna go off track?
I'm going to try to stay on track, and if I get off track, you're going to pull me back.
No, Jen.
Jen, thank you, Jen.
What do you think?
Well, give me a shot.
Okay.
Okay. I think there's a consensus on the board that we want to do something for the Paris, irrespective of this is 25 cents an hour or $10 an hour. We want to do something for the Paris. So if we were able to define as a group what it is we wanted to do as the Paris, couldn't we put that in as a contingency for what the board is able to do with the Paris? And then we visit with the para union and see if they want to take what we can offer.
Then let's get the budget going.
That would be, that would be the budget figure.
We also think about the other numbers.
Oops, I'm talking too loud. I'm sorry.
Chat at the contingency line. What is it now? What is it? I don't have any paper.
So you had 375 for the Paris, and then we had 120 for the other
So
under contingent.
It was
I would
102.
want to add them both together.
It's 102. It started out as 102.
102 and change,
Yeah,
which I always found an interesting number.
I don't even know how
Somebody
they found that.
calculated
That's not
that
real.
number for a reason, but okay, fine.
right.
We're gonna
No,
go
right.
back to, let's have a contingency for,
Contingency.
just in case.
What do you think is a decent number?
Let's see, between boilers and who knows what else.
Always.
well, we did put a CIP for a boiler.
Yeah, let's see if you get it.
Truck,
Well,
second truck.
water fountains that get contaminated.
350.
350. Ian's going with 350.
That sounds like.
Okay. Ian, your shot.
I'll jump in on the three that,
Okay.
that seems like a good middle ground.
Adrian, your shot.
Yeah, I'll support it.
Okay. Jen?
Is it the 250 plus the 100 that's already there?
Yeah.
Or is it 350 plus the 100? So now it's,
350
Total
total.
contingency.
but that already includes the 100 that's on the budget.
Yes,
Right.
so we'll be adding
Well, we're
whatever
taking away
350
that
minus 102 is.
Yeah, so is the final, I just want to make it clear, the final number is 350, including the 100 that's already there.
Absolutely.
Okay, I can live with 350 for now. I just didn't want it to be 450.
350 is fine.
I'm good with 300 to 400. So 350 is good with me.
Right.
So 350 it is, Ray.
Okay.
We put in 350 in that line.
In
Well, no.
contingency, and we'll take the other
What?
stuff away.
What happened, Dean?
I was gonna say, if we're, the 102
No.
is already in the budget.
Yeah, that's the change, right? That's the dollar change. You
That's why I would-
Put 350
So
there.
you're saying $452?
No,
350?
I said 350 for
350.
contingency.
That's what I'm saying.
That's-
And 102.
Yeah,
yeah,
So
so.
we're adding whatever the difference is between.
248.
Right.
What line is the 102?
But it's-
250, yeah,
What line-
248,000.
What line is the 102?
Just give me a number.
248,000.
Contingency.
You can't put 350
Take the
there.
102 out, Ray, and put 350 in.
That's
Got
what
it.
I did. Can you, it's right here.
But
I
on
did
that,
that.
you can't say that. It's gotta say,
250.
just subtract off 102,000.
Okay.
Whatever the change, whatever.
Where's the 102,000 that's gonna be deleted?
It's in
Rick?
the budget.
That's all in the budget. So,
So
Excuse
add
me.
248,000, Ray.
Okay.
Okay.
That's right. That's good now.
You're supposed to be doing it. Oh, you get
I'm
the
sorry.
answers.
That's what I teachers do. They listen.
All right there.
Everybody gets.
Right, so we're gonna add the 248,000 to the 102,000 that's already in the budget for contingency. And that brings that line, the whole contingency line up to 350,000.
Correct.
And please make that add up, because if not, the next meeting, we will have a big discussion on why that doesn't add up.
Still,
And it needs to get
Gonna
moved,
continue
the
this discussion?
superintendent budget to like the maintenance one.
Are we moving that? What contingency out of your budget?
Yeah, there was a talk about like, cause
Ah.
it was sitting in your budget.
So-
Remember, they were gonna move it to
The
Sam's.
district or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
somewhere.
Find a good place to put contingency.
You should put contingency in district wide,
In district
Oh,
wide.
so 1,700.
Yeah.
1,700. Dean.
So, because the original contingency figure was 102,276, and that's already baked into the budget, the number that should be in there was 247,724.
Oh,
Nice.
76
I don't know, it says 102,276, that's what's already in the budget.
cents in budget.
Exactly.
No,
there's no sense in town budget.
It's exactly. There's no sense, we're in like millions.
Okay. I hope you'll take my good advice. We're gonna put those Dodea paras, and if I don't get that Dodea grant, I will find,
Hey, Bev,
yep,
So you're saying remove
remove,
line 6 or row 6? Is that the one?
remove. I can't see the
I
line.
can't
It's
see
the
it.
one that says 2 remedial instructors or 5 para or 5 tutor under 1270. Do you see that line? Right?
Yeah, it's
That
line
to me
6.
again?
It's row 6, right under 70,000. Yeah, right there.
Right there.
It's for 160,000.
Yep. That's what it says. Yep.
Just delete the whole line?
So
Is it-
delete the line because I'm gonna get it in the grant.
I just zero it out.
Hold tight, Ray. Let's
It's
make
up
sure that, I know Susan wants to do it. And she thinks she can get in the Dodea grant. But how do you all feel about that?
I'm
The
good
kids
with
are
that.
important.
I know, that's why I go. with
If it can happen, I'm good for it. My fear is that with what's going on in Washington, that a lot of our expectations have just become aspirational. But we can try. But we have to be realistic that if some of the funds that we're expecting don't come, we're going to be sitting around the table trying to tear our hair out. But let's try.
Well, we got the contingency.
Thank God.
Yes.
That'll cover a couple million.
Good with minus 106.
we don't have anything yet.
Excuse me?
We don't have anything yet until the bills go out.
Jay,
hey, Bev,
He has his hand up, sorry.
I'm going to,
Oh, okay,
Jay, go ahead, Jay.
been up for a while.
yeah, I've had my hand up for a while. I was just trying to weigh in on the 350. And I want to go on record that I did support that. Because we need to, we have the consensus that we want to do something for the paras. And so I do think it makes sense to put it into the district-wide.
What
And
was
what do
it?
you think about those, since you're
What's
there,
the
Jay,
sense?
what do you think about Dodea? Subtracting 160,000 for the 5 tutors, was it the 5?
5 tutors.
5 tutors,
And I could put
and trying to get it in the Dodea grant. Jay, where'd you go?
Yeah, I'm concerned about Dodia.
Go ahead.
Um, you know, I'm not sure where the wind is shifting on that. Um,
We've been encouraged to put this grant together. We've shared with our colleagues at Dodia in Washington. They still have jobs. And they really are saying that they're going forward with these grants. So that's what they know today.
Jay, do you have something to say?
uh, I share Matthew's concern. If we need these tutors, I think we need to, to put it in our budget.
So Mike says no. Matthew, you on the fence or what?
You know, I am on the fence, but I guess I'm gonna go with Jay.
Yeah, okay,
Can I just offer clarification?
okay, just wait 1 second. Jay says no. I'm just going around the table. You'll be next. Go ahead, Jen.
You think you're gonna get it because it's a Department of Defense and not education?
No, it
Right.
is DODEA, so it's.
Okay,
Department of
Defense Education.
Activity, which are the grants that we've gotten every year.
Yes, but it comes in through funding through Department of Defense, right?
It's
No, from Department of Ed.
It is Department of Ed. Can you at least put half of it?
We
I-
could do it that way.
I, we really need those
I actually
tutors.
have a DODEA grant now.
Yeah.
Where we have a math tutor at Thames River and a math tutor at Mystic River. So even if we put in 3 to be safe, then I can also put in 3 in the other grant.
Mm-hmm,
And then if we get extra tutors, I'll put it in the middle school and the high school.
okay. Well,
If you like that.
if-
idea.
yeah, I do, half.
All right.
Because I don't want to go into the school year with none, right? Like if we don't get anything. So half Beverly.
Adrian?
So you just said the DODEA grant was for math, correct?
Yes.
These tutors were added with a lot of discussion on early ed reading. I'm not saying that they didn't include math too, because there was also discussion into math. But we're talking about 2 different things here to some extent. So these 5 tutors will be math tutors if we get a DODEA grant for tutors. So I am not in support of reducing that number that we already voted on. I would like to keep the same. Because we haven't added any money. Aside from buying a new reading curriculum, we haven't devoted any new resources to trying to get more than half of our kids at reading at grade level. And by money, I mean staff.
I can add that we have a specialist in math and a specialist in reading in every school. But we also have reading intervention, 3 to 4 in every school. We do not have math interventionists.
Still haven't got the scores.
Reading needs to be done.
Well, I'm just saying that
First
that's
grade and kindergarten,
right.
and we have 2,500 kids in elementary school. So the numbers to me, the numbers that we have in staff to support elementary school don't add up. I think we've underfunded in general. This is a small token of, additional support to that 2,500 kids, where roughly half of them.
And we also have special educators that are highly skilled in reading and have taken on a lot of Fort Gillingham Wilson training too.
So these are math tutors.
But these that I'm suggesting are math.
This is function code 1270, right? Remedial instruction.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So if you look there, I mean, the budget already has 24.6 for certified teachers in remedial instruction for elementary, 4 for middle, and then just 1 for Fitch High School. That went down by 1. So the bulk is, it may not be enough, right? But it's just like 25 for 2,500. So that's, I guess, 1 per 100 students is probably, but then how many need remedial? Are we saying half do? Or half students that would, or it'd be like a quarter of it?
Roughly half are below grade level.
Yeah,
I personally have my feelings that a lot more need
yeah.
instruction than actually get. So that's, I just wanted to point out the difference between what you offered with the math and what we had talked about, which was support, where the principals could choose how best to support the kids.
And then there are no tutors in that function code right now, so that'd be a different model that I think has been mentioned is gonna be more flexible. In terms of
I
like,
think
tu-
Title I tutors that are in there, they use for different reasons, so you probably have a literacy, extra literacy tutor in some of those title schools too.
just not in the budget or there's no tutors in 1270. It's just teachers, certified teachers.
Mhm.
That's on like 5.58. I think we were talking about it, like, part of the point was that like the tutors. Additional remedial services
Dave.
high school are offered.
Below a non-certified, that's where you're gonna see
There's none.
tutors.
There's,
6.5 in Title I.
at 1270, there's no,
Function code are we looking at?
unless I'm looking at the old one. Maybe I've got the old one. Hold on.
No, I got the new one here.
5-5.
Oh, yeah,
Four, three, you see non-certified under
Oh.
title.
Or 1270,
7,
function code what?
5-5.
I don't see any non-certified.
Are you, Mike's on 1270, what are you on?
Yeah, 5-56.
At the FTE page,
She's
it has
she's
the
looking at the
non-certified.
FTE code page.
But
Here we are once
It's-
again, this
it's
is
talking about
exactly
remedial-
what we were
we're
talking about.
remedial instruction.
Yeah.
That's 1270. It says it right there,
Took me a while to catch up.
right?
Mhm.
So that's the function, right? Where else would it be?
Where would these tutors be? Up under what function?
I don't have them yet, those.
Oh, yeah, they're nowhere. We don't have them.
But I'm just saying the literacy, I don't know for sure which area the principals have them in, but you see the tutors in Title I, 6.5 of them. So.
All right, let's get back on track for a second, Mike, because then you don't, let's just talk about the grant.
Well, I don't know where we'd add it.
Okay, yeah.
So
Where would you add these students?
I thought it was remedial.
Would you add them under the remediation?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, it would be added under the 1270 function code, Mike. Adrian, are you a yes or no for reducing the 160,000?
No, I would like to keep it in there.
Okay.
I would also like to say what Ian had talked about before is the measured goals with these added staff.
Okay,
So if he wants to elaborate on that.
okay,
Well, that's what DODIA grants do.
okay, Ian, yes or no for the removing the 160,000?
As one of the captains I used to work for back in the day, he said, there is no hope at sea. You either know something or you don't. Like, we're in a situation where there are adverse conditions, we can't depend on hope. We have to plan. So, I'm in favor of making the commitment in the operational budget. If you're able to bring in some grant funding to help relieve somewhere else, that's great. And we have a non-lapsing fund to catch any efficiencies that we may recoup on account of that, but we need to make the commitment so that the site administrators can plan.
Okay, so you're no for removing the man,
Right, I want to keep them, well, why are we calling them math?
that's what Susan wants.
Well, no,
I just said that's what I would do.
Right.
In the grant.
That's what
that's
she would do.
right, and that's where there's some, I think, some disconnect between what we were intending to do with this.
But don't
We talked
forget,
about it
it's
last
up to
week.
Susan what to do.
It's
Right.
Department of Defense. It's not Department of Education.
But we also heard, from the
Yeah,
principals
he
that,
hasn't touched
literacy
Department
and
of
numeracy
Defense.
are
That's
both
why
in.
Well, maybe
it's
you can split
it's
them.
not education.
But either way,
Little.
we need to make the commitment so we can.
Right.
Make the decision.
We can't
Yeah,
depend on
make the
chance.
All right, Dean,
I'd like to see ultimately a plan. If we do this and spend this, we're gonna get the year, a 5-year plan, if you want to call it, something like that. Same thing with,
Strategic plan we're doing.
same thing like with remedial education. We do this, we just spend a boatload of money and we hope to in 5 years or whatever. Finally get most of our kids reading and counting and all of that.
okay,
But I'm with the others on
okay, we are
on that one.
Points of clarification.
Yeah.
DODIA is Department of Defense Educational Activities. It is within the Department of Defense and it's been specifically targeted by Mr. Hexeth.
No, it's in the Department of Ed.
That's not what Mr. Hexeth
It's
says.
different DODIAs.
Either way.
Yeah.
it's
either way, we
clear-
don't know.
Okay.
It's clear there's a hostility to it up top.
So you lose, Susan.
All right, well, I I made my suggestion.
The
It's up to
hundred
you.
and sixty stays in, the 160,000 stays in.
Is that for two, or this is just a decision? Would do, so 5 tutors was for the 5 elementary schools?
Five
Okay.
paras.
It was
Let's not
five
get-
tutors
Five
for
tutors.
staff members, the principals to decide.
My
But
notes,
Susan decide with the principals what to do with them, all right? Next, Susan.
So
It
the
could be for
special-
math or literacy, it's up to the principals.
we do need that extra special ed teacher, but it's not at the cost of 80,000, it's at the cost of 64,000, so we can change that number.
Well, that went down there.
That was easy. We already fixed contingency.
So everybody's on board with the special ed tutor, teacher in elementary schools, okay, good. Yeah.
We already talked about Clint's, they okay. We already know about the health benefits at 200, the workman's comp, we got that information from the town office about a week and a half ago. We got the fuel adjustment in there, we've got the electricity for 200.
And that I understood to be under trying to negotiate a price, Ray's trying to work
Yes,
on that.
Ray, talk.
I have several prices that have come in, but I'm waiting for one last price. They're comparing what they have with our usage. rate.
Something you wanna show us all? Dean? What's something you wanna show us all?
What is this elementary school?
No, no, I'm just asking, but it might be helpful.
Oh, I was gonna say.
this supports the point we're making. earlier.
Yeah, bad, but it might be
You're
helpful.
going up to the screen.
Anyway, so I'm looking at a past, I was looking at numbers, looking at a past ed budget. And it's what I remembered, which is basically, so here's the 1080 in the town coding. It has our, operating expenses, basically the whole budget, so one liner. And it breaks down a couple of different cost centers. Then it's got a whole bunch of lines under financing plan, federal funds, patron cost sharing, blah, blah, blah. And then at the bottom, general fund, which is by far the largest number. I like to see, this is what I'm looking for. What's stuff costing us? Where's the money gonna come from? That's it.
When was that? What year?
Well, this happened to be from 2012. And the reason why I looked this up is because I wanted to see, just for my own edification, from 13 years ago, what was the budget and what is it now? So it was 72,645. Now we're proposing it's 93,677. Gargantuan, correct? Okay, over a 13-year period, that's an average of 1.98% per annum.
Wow.
But remember, people don't mind being boiled this slowly, but they do mind 8% chunks. Okay, if you boil them for 2% for the year, nobody would know. But that's not how we function.
We had a whole lot of zeros in there.
Thanks, Dean, that was
Yeah,
helpful.
interesting.
Yes, that was good.
You can forward that slide and I'll see what we can do.
Oh, it's actually in the town's website. If you look under, budget documents, it's got them
You
all,
have it and you want to send it.
it's got them back.
Just, not to interrupt, but just for everybody's edification, I was on a CASBO webinar earlier today. And just about everybody in the region, old line, everybody's coming in between 6% and 8% right now. Just for your own edification.
That's why that 6.5 looked darn good.
Well,
Okay, all right, so we, Ray?
So Ray said that he's looking into electric costs and that he's got one more out there that he's gonna collect. So he's gonna get what the best deal is.
Any inside perception?
Yeah, regardless of which one comes in, you're gonna be paying at least 4 cents a kilowatt hour more.
We're gonna be paying, can you repeat that?
You're going to be paying approximately 4 cents a kilowatt hour more. So you'll see what that's gonna look like.
Charge.
That's why I was nervous with the other, no, that's why I asked for a little more money.
Go ahead.
so I did have a conversation with Andre Baumgartner, and I'm waiting on documentation to come back on it, but he gave me the understanding that the pandemic recruitment fee is actually scheduled to expire May 1st.
Oh, yay.
Oh, good.
But
How
I've,
did he find that out?
well,
That's
I don't know,
legislation.
this is, Again, I'm waiting for documentation.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting it out there as a thing that is possible, but I have not verified it as of yet, so no one should hope for that.
No, no, hope.
There is no
Not
hope.
hope at sea.
You cannot depend on chance.
Maybe that's our new word.
Yeah,
Do not take my word.
you should have told us. We could have done it.
Well, I'm actually I'm throwing it out there to try to like gather, to get help from the masses. Because my inquiry so far, that's the only little light at the end of the tunnel that I see. But, you know, I haven't got it verified yet, documentation wise. I've sent him a message, asked for some resources on that to verify it, and I have not received a response yet.
Could you give Heather a call and see if she's heard the same thing?
Sure.
We're gonna be.
Well, because I think you know her
No, it's
better than
not.
anybody else here.
Yeah.
It's a rumor, it's a
Good
possibility.
rumor. It's
We have to
All
confirm.
right, Ray, go ahead. Were you on the electricity?
Secretary.
No, we already went through all that.
Okay.
We're on the 100,000 for the subs, and I just don't see any way that we can take 100,000 from the subs.
I'm willing,
Michael?
oh,
So we kind of got through some of this last time where all the subs were stuck in the elementary function code, but on the, I guess it's the red tab, it has the full numbers that Jen pointed out. And so from last year's budget to this year's budget, the sub increase right now is up, would be up 122,000. So that cutting that would bring only a 22,000 increase, and from what we're seeing, based on what's spent already this year, that seems like too small an increase. So I wouldn't support the 100,000 cut. I could support up to a 50,000 cut on that line there.
Ray, how are we doing in the sub accounts? Do you know?
I just ran the report. I didn't even do an analysis of the report yet today. I just finished it at 3 o'clock when I had to run out the door.
Well, I would rather take a smaller cut than the 100,000. If we're gonna have to take a cut, I would say maybe 40.
Maybe 5.
I just don't want to get stuck.
Okay. So how do you feel? How do you feel with 40?
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
I'll jump zigzagging. What do you think, Dean?
I'm fine with what Mike said.
With 40,000? That's what Susan said.
You could say.
Mike said
with what I
50.
said.
You want 50? Or 40?
50.
50.
Yeah, I'll be the bad.
Well, Mike said he's
You're not
okay with
bad.
40.
Either way.
Either way,
Okay.
he's on either way. All right, Matthew?
I'm take a pass on this one for whatever the group decides. They know more than I do.
Okay, Ian?
This is for that current function, or sorry, level 1, line 120. This is that item in the tracker sheet.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's got everything in there. It's got for all levels for whatever reason. So.
So the question is, we want to reduce that down instead of 100,000 drop to a 50,000 drop?
Or 40. I just don't want us to get cut. They really are the building subs that we need. And it's really, you know, we've still had history of a lot of illness.
And the building subs, according to the principals, they were very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
They
even
really
for
like their building.
IEPs and PPTs that, you know, we're in meetings all day long in the schools and they need to release teachers to be there. There's usually a table filled with 9, you know, with
Well,
parents, 9
I'll go with 40.
You go with
Yeah.
40.
So
The reduction of 40.
Yeah.
reduction of 40. Yeah.
I got you. Jen?
well, I'm the meanie because I wanted 120 and then I agreed to the 100 because we have a 20% absenteeism rate that we need to fix, not fund. So
You
I'm
wanna
looking,
Fix the health conditions of a lot of people. That's what you're talking about.
I don't, I hope it's health conditions. I mean, I don't, for their sake, I don't want it to be health conditions, but 20% absenteeism rate in any business or non-for-profit or any organization is just not a good thing. So,
We all agree on that.
no, so that's why I'm saying like,
You
if
don't wanna,
I'm gonna hold to my 100.
okay. Adrian?
I would go with 40. I just want to bring something up for the absenteeism. I don't.
It's hard to hear Adrian, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I support a $40,000 reduction. But as far as the absenteeism, like if we go to teachers, just because I know how that contract works. There's a maximum allowable sick days per day, which is per year, which is 15. There's 186 working days. So they're only allowed to take 9% of their days absent. So to me, the 20% absenteeism, I think that number just shouldn't get thrown around. I don't know if it's accurate. Maybe it is accurate. I'm misunderstanding things, but I just feel like we need a more accurate, an accurate number that the district can give us if we're going to use a number like that.
It came from them in one of the,
20% of our staff absent on
Yeah.
any day.
Mhm.
Is your mic on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Report card to look up.
Jen, can you bring your mic up closer?
Yeah, I don't know who it came from.
Turned all the way up, but it's out.
I will look it up for you guys.
Yeah. It was one of the presentations. I can't remember.
But just to realize 20%
It's not.
absenteeism would be a teacher
And one day every week.
missing a day a week, or like, it's a 35 days a year or something. It's a lot.
Mhm.
And it's
I
an
don't think
average
that's there.
when the state does it or when we do it. And we've got many young staff that are having babies. So absenteeism is having childbirth absentee. And now men also can take time when they have children. And then there's surgeries. There's all kinds of things that add to that absenteeism rate.
And I'm gonna go with the 40%, so,
40.
I do want to, Susan, you had
40,000, yeah, excuse me, thank you. What happened, Ray?
I did pull up my report. We're currently running an $83,000 deficit.
83, on the subline,
Yes,
83,000 deficit?
We cut that back
Yes.
last year, if you remember, because Adrian tried to talk us into, or both Adrian and Ian.
So, look, if we cut it by 40%, that means the 40,000, excuse me. That means that subline, and I want to get to Jay, because I keep forgetting Jay's online here. That would mean the subline would be 60,000? Are you saying that's not gonna be enough?
not if apples compare to apples.
What should it be then?
I
Well, if
wouldn't
you're
take.
short 80,000 now and you still have, what, 3.5 months to go, 4 months to go? You're probably gonna end up with a 120, 130 range deficit.
So, are your thoughts to keep it at 100,000?
Regardless, you're not gonna have enough.
Excuse me?
You're still not, 100 is gonna cover this year's deficit. I don't know what next year's deficit will be, but I would venture to say it'll probably match it if you don't increase the budget line.
So I would say, you're saying that you should not take anything from the subline.
I wouldn't
That's
take
what Cory
anything
said.
from it.
Yeah,
Right,
that's what Cory was saying.
What's the subline now?
hold on, let me bring it up again, hang on.
All right, Jay, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's kind of sobering, but if you look at the financial statement that Ray provided us as of November 29th, the balance in that account was 189,000 to the good. If he's now saying that it's a deficit, that's how far we've gone in December, January, and into February.
And
Yeah,
these are high months, so for absenteeism, we've had flu, I mean, everything, stomach, everything.
Your year-to-date expenditures are $425,000 right now. You'll see that on the report Monday. I just ran this. I still have to analyze it, make sure everything's good, but
I think,
Okay, so we had budgeted 344, 100. We went in skinny, and now we're seeing the effect of that.
Right.
We're running over. Ray says we could be looking at $120,000 overage on that. Very well. So 344 and 120 gives you 464, but we're budgeting for 950. It might have been mentioned before, it probably was, and I don't remember, but why the dramatic, so in other words, if you want to correct, you say, well, let's budget properly this time around. why so much more than 464, which is where we would, instead of, had we budgeted 464 last year, we'd be on target, say, we think. So why the dramatic increase?
Dean, I think I got this one. You're looking at that function code 1101 elementary. In this year's proposed budget, that's where that whole 950,000 is.
So you're saying
And
that, yeah,
last year, the elementary school had a big amount in the sub code. But then if you look through every function code associated with middle and high school, like art, social studies, science, it was all distributed
Oh,
through there.
Yeah.
And so it's,
so the proposed number is lumped in, but the last year's numbers are not lumped in. So
Yeah.
I've got 100,
Yeah.
I've got
I
100,
need to look
120 all
at
through the
this
budget.
sheet.
Wait, let me finish talking.
and so fundamentally, kind of last year's approach was kind of weird and this year's is kind of weird. That should probably just be put in district wide, right, for subs and do it as such. And the way I'm getting the numbers is looking at the and this was I think Jen pointed this out last time. If you look in the red tab, it's on page 2-3, line 4, substitute teachers. And that's where it has that same 950,000, which is easy to find in this year's proposed budget because it's only in one function code, but it has the harder to assemble one from last year's budget. With the last year's total for substitute teachers budget was 827,560, which was quite a cut from the year before, as Susan was mentioning.
And this year it's what is 26 proposed?
950,000.
So I don't think we can cut it.
Go ahead, Jen.
No, I was just gonna tell Dean, look at the consolidated,
I got it.
yeah,
Thank you.
it's in the red
It's
section.
2-3
It's,
in the red.
The bottom line is at 950, with our current estimate, we would be on target. How do we budgeted 950 last year?
Right.
Okay, all right. I
So,
retract it all.
we should, so, Ray, you're suggesting no cuts on that line to keep it at,
What we have,
what
I
we
would
have?
just hope, I would zero out your decrease.
the decrease.
Then I take it back.
Take it back.
Me too.
Same,
Me too.
Agreed.
you don't have to vote.
I know.
But I would like to just support Mike's suggestion of this going in 1,700.
Yeah, I was. gonna
Yeah, I
say
like that too.
Yeah.
District wide, I just.
Did you hear that, Ray? If you could put the subline into the 1700s, the district wide, be less confusing,
Got it.
okay?
Zero it out.
Yeah. What do you
Zero it
say
out.
then, Jen,
Hmm,
what do you say?
I'm still keeping the 100 there because they need to have the challenge. We're like taking all the reductions out. We're gonna be at like 10%.
Right now, I'm showing about 7.1.
Okay.
Okay. Matthew? Matthew, you might too, Mike.
I'm sorry, leave the 100,000 in the budget.
Leave behind. But we're talking about leaving the line item as is this year,
950,000 to not reduce it.
right? Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. You guys, so well, was that your sexy voice?
You'll figure it out.
Point of order.
What's my wife gonna say?
Yeah, harassment at the Board of, no, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna file a complaint.
Very white.
I'm with the new information from Ray. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Ray.
I'm good with the
Yeah.
the 950.
I'm good with that too. Okay. Sorry, Jen.
It's okay.
Good try though, good try.
And the next set of are the things that you were talking about last time, adding a business teacher, the social worker, career counselor, if we can find one at point 4, and then an ASL teacher. And I would really say that it's going to be hard to see if we actually need that ASL teacher because of of the enrollment. And I would not add that. They're very hard to find and define at 0.5. And I just think that we have other languages for kids and, we already have that as available for kids. So I don't think we need to add that position. And,
So when we're adding these positions, we should really think about what positions are that we definitely need.
right.
That we definitely need. And the ones that are nice to have, I don't think we should add to this budget. So,
I agree.
we can go around and I always pick on you first, Mike, because you're always ready.
Okay, I'm ready. So, no for the half ACL, because I agree on how you find a half teacher. Yes
No
for
the ASL.
the ASL, sorry, may have said that wrong. Yes for the 0.4 career counselor. However, I'd like to see the existing career counselor, who's wonderful at her job, stay in place regardless, if it's of her choosing. And then the NEA Academy social worker, I support that. The business teacher at Fitch, I could support it because of the new personal finance requirement that the state has, that's kind of ratcheting up through the system. But maybe I missed part of the meeting for some circumstances yesterday. I don't know if we ever got back like the teaching loads for the business teachers. I think that's a wish list, but I didn't have a sense of like, could they still manage without it? Could we wait until the year after?
We did it this year and the class sizes were typical. They were
Yeah.
20, 22. And because it's it's a graduation requirement, but a 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grader can take it. So you can spread that out and it's a 0.5. So I think it was done last year. We were able to do it. If we held off a year and then I could put it in, that might be possible, but.
So you could live without this business teacher and it wouldn't affect the students at all.
I don't think it would, but
Well, it's a requirement, so freshmen and sophomores do not have to take it. You could try to,
just for the juniors and seniors. Yeah, you could.
And
you
then
could
freshmen and sophomores
strategize
can
that way.
live without it,
Right, and then take it.
then take it.
I do just want to say, after looking through the course catalog for personal reasons, just this morning, actually, there are a lot of classes in the business program, and they all look really useful. So,
There are.
like life skill useful.
All right,
So question for Susan?
hold tight, Matthew. You're a what, Michael?
I'm a maybe on the business, yes on the social worker, yes on the career counselor, no on the ACL. Hard to find half teacher.
Okay. Matthew, what are you saying?
Delete the ASL,
Well, I can hear you.
delete, I'm speaking of. delete the ASL. I do have a clarification on the business. Do we know how many juniors and seniors still have to fulfill this requirement?
No, I don't know.
Juniors and seniors, current ones, they,
Well, not this year, you've seen this, but okay, current sophomores, what, if we made it not available to the freshmen, this year's freshmen, do we have any sense of that? We've got 80% of the sophomores and juniors who still need to take it, and because can we fit them in if we don't have that teacher?
I can't give you a definite answer. All I know is that we ran it this year, the classes were full. And,
But don't forget the sophomores will have 2 other years to do it. They don't have to do it in their sophomore year. They can do it they could take that class in their junior and senior.
it's only a half semester, so you could really get 240 kids or 220 kids through the year, with two semesters.
Or could we make it that
With one.
next year seniors have preference and next year's juniors have second?
Run it that way, especially if it's a graduation requirement. I'll check with them, but they would have.
I hope so.
I'd be willing to.
You can't, freshmen can get in.
No, I'm saying that. I'm saying it.
I'd be willing to cut that line for now, but I would like Susan to give us some real figures of the upcoming utilization rate.
Okay, what about the social worker?
Keep those two
and the
items.
career counselor?
Please keep those 2 items.
Yes. Okay, Jen? Thank you, Matthew.
Well, since I asked to put these on, I fully support the business teacher because we have roughly 250 kids in all of those grades. And even if it is run like half a semester, and if there's 20 kids, that's like how many classes, right? Like, I don't, yeah,
2022, 6.
okay. So I'm just concerned, like, so to me, that's important. That's like one of your career spokes that you're
Yeah.
always talking about. So
You're
let's make an investment in it and let's do it right because it's a mandate. The kids, whether it's a mandate or not, those kids need to learn how to write checks, need to negotiate and all of that. Those are life skills that, if anything, them walking away from high school, they need to at least know that so they don't get scammed. As for the social worker, that is necessary. All the other schools have it. Northeast needs it. You know,
Northeast NCB, it was shared.
yep. And then the career counselor, you know, if the current person who's part-time, maybe we make a full-time and there's going to be a full-time and a part-time person there. You know what I mean? So, I'm in support of that. And
Yes, for that.
yes, for that. And the sign language, I could go either way, you know, because if we remove it, we can't create demand for that.
Okay. Adrian,
So the sign language, I know that one's not gonna happen, but I'm gonna support it out of principle,
okay.
because the demand is there. We've chosen to push French and Spanish, but many more students try to sign up for sign language. We don't allow ninth graders to sign up for
Exactly.
sign language by and large. I mean, maybe there's some exceptions. But the demand for sign language is there. It's just that it doesn't fit into the IB middle years program. So there's no kind of feeding into sign language. So that's why I support sign language. And I support the other three as well.
Ian,
Well, I am in favor of, the social worker, and the business teacher,
Mhm.
for reasons others have stated, and I like the commitment of the ASL. I just wanted to clarify with the, 0.4 career counselor. The intent with that was to round out the current career counselor to a full-time position.
so she only wants to work part-time.
I've been
I
in
was,
there every year.
I was under the impression of a different, based on the conversations I had, so.
No, we've asked her. I mean, when she's ready, I hope she will, definitely. She has young children at home.
I mean, we could put it in, but she
Yeah.
might not want to work full-time.
Well, I mean, it's,
So,
So you okay, you're yes for that?
Yeah.
And a yes for. What do you-
yeah, I think ASL would be, a worthwhile investment.
Dean?
I'll save you the time. No across the board.
can I just say something? I'm sorry.
What about Jay?
So,
And Dr. Ackerman's in.
oh, yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, finish.
No,
Okay.
I know it's good that you, work-life balance for our working professionals, but if it's impacting the students and they're not getting the support that they need so that they can, you know, look for jobs or, support for colleges, then we need to seriously consider that because first and foremost is the students.
Understood, but if we have a good career counselor
I
now,
know.
and you go hire someone. and
No, I know.
Though you get a, you know what one.
No, I know. I know.
Starts out, so, okay, Jay,
I just want to ask a clarifying question. Susan, the new state law, it's already a graduation requirement. So are we adding classes for business because of the new state law, or were we already covered because we increased our graduation requirements some time ago?
We are covered because we already had a business teacher who had created, personal finance and, class. And so we were able to slide right in and we have a lot of kids who take it anyway. So with the
Right.
requirement, it just made sure that in those 4 years that you're in high school, that you would take a semester course in that, financial literacy, personal finance. So I think we were prepared.
Right. Well, I support the social worker and the career counselor.
okay. Andrew?
Yeah, I apologize. I had another executive board meeting that I had to attend, and I apologize for being late. However, the only, so I wasn't here for all of the conversation. So the only no I have is the sign language. And for the rest of it, I support whatever Susan recommends.
Okay, and I support the career counselor. If we're fine with the business the way it is, I don't support that. I don't support ASL, because I'm hearing a lot of students take that class because it's easier than French and Spanish, so I don't support ASL. And I do support social work, but definitely. So I don't know, so I
Yeah,
think,
For a tally.
excuse me?
I'm just asking for a tally on
Yeah,
all those.
so far I got, nah. You want to tally? I didn't
thought you were already
tally.
doing it.
I think so far the business teacher, the way I see it. Andrew voted yes for business, Mike voted yes for business.
I was a maybe for business
You wrote a maybe?
and Andrea
Andrea
was,
was
and it
maybe,
was
whatever.
whatever Susan said.
Oh, Mike, I had to, yes. Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so Andrea voted yes for business. You can tally this up if you want to. Mike voted maybe.
Yeah.
Let me see where I'm at. Jay voted no for business. Matthew voted no for business. Ian voted yes for business. Jen voted
Yes.
yes for business. I voted no for business. And did I get everybody? Dean voted no for business.
Yeah, I'm gonna automatically know on everything.
Yeah, I'll,
Dean was no for everything.
And so I got,
I'm gonna put a no on business, although I did say yes at the
Okay,
first time. I was on the fence on that, but
Voted, where did I put your name, Adrian?
that's 3-5-1. Take it maybe as an abstain.
Okay,
Oh, actually,
you're switching Adrian to no for business?
correct.
Okay.
So do I
Alright.
zero it out?
Want me to do it again?
I had 3-5-1.
Yeah, I
So
think that's-
three, yeah, so it failed.
It fails. Okay, for sign.
So
with
zero
the
it out,
social worker, I think everybody was yes for social worker.
yeah.
Yeah.
Except,
Except for Dean.
Except for Dean, my man Dean. Okay. ASL, Matthew was a no. Jen was a question mark, Jen?
I was a maybe.
So what do you got? That's my question mark.
Okay, I'll
One
go,
abstention.
Jen was a no.
I'll go no then.
Adrian was a yes. Mike was a no. Jay is a no. I'm a no. Ian, you were a yes. Did I tell you Matthew?
And
Matthew
Andrea
was a
was
no, and Andrea was a no.
What about Jay?
Whatever Susan
and
said.
what was,
Jay?
how do we
I
decide?
go with Susan's recommendations. But whatever Susan sees the district as in need of or not in need of, that's what I am voting for.
Okay, Jen, you were a maybe initially. Did you decide?
No,
She said no.
correct. I switched over.
I switch over to no.
So that's 2-7.
I was,
That fails.
So, Bev, I just want to say, I'm gonna leave in person, pick up online. I'll probably be back in like 40 minutes. I just gotta do my driver duty.
Oh,
I'll be right
I remember those days.
And
Get some quality time.
Meeting will be over by that time, Mike. It's wishful thinking, isn't it?
When you on, did I do career counselor already?
No, we have not.
Right, so career counselor is a yes for Matthew. A yes for Jen. A yes for Adrian. A yes for Andrea. A no for Dean. A yes for Mike. A yes for Jay. And a yes for me.
Okay.
And that was also a yes for me.
Yeah, Ian. Okay. Yes
So
for you, Ian.
8-1.
Okay, and which, did I miss one now? Are we all set with that?
Yeah, that's not.
So Jay, take off the
Whatever.
business, keep on the social work, keep on this career counselor and take off the ASL.
Yep,
To see
already
what our
done.
number is. Oh, thank you. So the only other thing that I would like to suggest, that I was able to reduce the 331 from my code, but in talking to Lori, there's just no way that we can take out this large amount from R3 with including district in those next two numbers. And then I do want to talk to you about what the impact of having kids pay for their own test. And it says IB, but it would have to be APIB. And I think I've already mentioned that, you know, our number is somewhere between 54 and 60% free and reduced lunch now. And that's a lot of kids that would need funding, so at least half of them. And even the kids who might be able to afford the funding, we've seen that that's true to course, that they're not paying for their meals for breakfast and lunch. Many, many families are not paying for the meals because they're not free in two of our schools that don't have CEPs. And I'm just afraid kids won't be taking the test, and we've come a long way to kids being courageous to take the course and then to take the test. And, you know, we've really expanded those courses, and the access to those courses. And I think it makes them more ready for college or career. So I'm just afraid that we could be, you know, causing kids not to take the test because of the funding. I'm afraid that we would see a lack of access.
All right, I will just go back to the, a year and a half ago, before I was on the board, there was, talk about all the total number of tests taken, and then the number of, and we'll just, I just remember the discussion on, I think it was AP Gov. That, the amount of, the number of students that got a passing grade, whatever it was at that point, like a 3 or higher on an AP, the number didn't really change. So out of 120 kids that took the test after we started paying for it, it was still something like 30 or 40 students got a 2 or higher or 3 or higher or something. The year before, so like 3 or 4 years ago, we used to make students pay for it. The numbers were the same. So I think the kids that are serious are still going to take the test. The one thing that it throws in is a lot of teachers allow kids to miss taking a final if they choose to take the test, but the test does not weigh into their grade at all. The results aren't even available after the school year's over. So, so there's probably motivation by a lot of students to take the test just because they don't have to take a final. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I mean, I'm still in support of reducing, you know, of having families that can pay. I don't think it should just be on free and reduced lunch. I think that there should just be some more, should be that, plus the administration can make decisions. But that's why I brought that up. And I definitely want to get back to the thing that you said first. Do we want to just finish this part discussion first, and then we'll go back to the superintendent's office?
So just to be clear, which line item is this, or which tracker item is this we're talking about?
Should be under IB, right?
It's the one that says IB test towards the end, right above ROTC.
What page are you on, Susan?
I'm on the tracker.
Oh, you're on the track.
You're on the track.
It's,
What is the function code?
Yeah.
Right.
Get it?
No, I got it electronically. I just,
You found the function code?
Did you find?
it's 1117.
Thank you.
That's just IB though.
Correct. Yeah, this is just, it's page 5-37.
Did you ever find where AP was?
What page?
537.
That we know is at least partially reimbursed. So I would support the same policy with both IB and AP if we can find where AP is. So it's line 607 on 1117.
Dean, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, what Adrian laid out is the incentives and disincentives, I find resonates with me. Yeah, are there gonna be kids who'll say, well, you know, I could afford the test, but since I'm gonna have to dig into my pocket or my parents' pocket for it, no. At that point, I would say that's on them. So if we have money set aside, however we figure out these kids, for kids who cannot pay, I'm in favor of that, whatever that number is. I don't know who it's gonna be. If you want to say half the kids are free and reduced, 60% are free and reduced, we want to take whatever the number cost for testing is and say, well, we'll just fund 60% of that. So we have a pool of money in case somebody says, hey, I need help. And I understand there are people who need help that don't come forward. You know, I don't know what to do with pride like that. You need it, you need it. I mean, learn to ask for help. I don't know what to say. But I am concerned that we're looking at the IB number here, and I don't know if the same incentives work for IB. I know about the AP testing, you know, a lot of teachers will say, hey, if you take the AP test, it'll be no final.
Well, it's a program, so they do have a lot of testing to do.
Right,
And it's a different kind of thing. It's not just a one-shot deal. It's all through their curriculum.
They save money in the long run if they pass, right?
Right, but I'm still saying it's part of the program, so it's like, it will, you know, it'll interrupt the program, so there may be kids who won't take it because of the cost. I don't know, I just,
So just,
Wait, 1 second. Are you all set, Dean?
yeah, for now, yeah.
We could come back to you first. Go ahead, Amy.
I just wanted, I got the tracker up now. I'm just trying to locate the item in question. How much is the reduction that you're proposing?
It's like
10,000.
10,000.
It's half of that one.
Well, ain't that funny? I had the same thing marked, so I'm in support.
Reduce it?
Yeah.
By 10,000?
Yeah.
But that's the IB, right? Or the whole, or.
I'm
IBs?
looking at function 1117, line 607.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a note here, actually. I identified that as one of my potential.
okay.
So,
And how do you feel about AP though?
oh, well, we get reimbursed for that, don't
Do you reimburse that?
we? Do we have the confirmation on that?
we have in the past.
Only reimbursed for students who are.
We can hear you, Emily. And speaking of Mike, please.
I forgot, sorry. We are only reimbursed for students who can prove that they would normally receive free or reduced lunch. That's become a little bit more difficult in those schools that receive the CEP benefit, the community eligibility provision. So I don't know if Fitch High School is one of those schools.
They are.
And so what makes it more challenging is that in the past, we would have a record, right, of this student, you know, receives free or reduced lunch. The student does not. We're able to submit that information to the State Department of Ed. Now, because the entire school, everybody kind of falls under this umbrella of CEP, it's much more challenging to determine, or to, you know, now you kind of have to chase after these forms that everybody knows we no longer have to fill them out.
Right, and so
Does that make
that's been a
sense?
real problem. Ernie has really brought that to my attention this year. That he's not getting the same, and we've done parent square, we've done, you know, they've invited people in to help them out, but it's.
So, and I understand that from a parent's perspective, why do I need to fill out this form when my child is already receiving the benefit of free lunch, free breakfast?
Mhm.
They don't understand that, you know, like if they want things like a free AP test or a free maybe IB or other benefits, they have to go ahead and fill out this form. There are other ways that you can kind of track down, maybe like if they receive Husky or some other benefit, but it's challenging for the school district to get that information. So there are a lot fewer kids then that wind up getting the benefit of like the AP test for free from the State Department of Ed because of this challenge.
Thank you.
So to follow up on that explanation, the 607, the people tests, is that exclusive to IB or is that IB and AP integrated?
Yeah, I think that's only IB. Was
Okay,
under
good.
the IB.
Whole function.
Just want to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I
So,
don't think you can do for one and not for the other. And then I think it's going to impact all this good work that we've done. I encourage you.
Jen, what do you say?
I had on my list to reduce. But then now listening to Anne Marie, like if we can't identify because they're not filling out forms anymore,
but that's AP.
no, for both,
Oh, for both.
for both.
I don't think they're
because
reimbursed for IB.
we don't,
IB,
oh, no, but how are you gonna, let's say there's 20 people in an IB class, are you gonna be like, can you afford it? You know, now you're like invading privacy and dignity at this point. But at least in the past, they would fill out the form and we could easily just say, yeah, Jen, you're free lunch. So we'll pay for your test, but now, you know, it's gonna be hard, right? I mean,
There's another thing to consider too, is like not all IB students take the exam.
they
No,
do,
They do.
they do for college credit. I mean, what's the point
Yeah,
of
they do.
taking the classes? Like John,
You still
Yeah.
get weight for the class, even without taking the exam.
Hmm.
You know, it
I
depends
don't-
on, you know, where you get.
yeah, I don't know, because like, you know, my kid just did average. He wasn't like getting like the superstar grades, but he went into college with like eight. So he was already a sophomore. He's already a sophomore now. You know what I mean? So it does matter to kids who take the AP and the IB, who are serious about going to school. They take those tests.
Well, how much are the tests?
I don't know, because they were free, but I thought they were gonna be at least, I
Well, maybe
think
if the
one
test is
year.
$100 and I'm gonna save 1,000, I don't know how much college class costs. I'll pay the $100.
Yeah, I think they were like,
I don't know.
I think at 1 year we had to pay, right, Dean? Like, was that like
There were
hundred
a
and
couple of
twenty?
years that AP
one-
was paying, but IB was not.
Yeah, it was like 125 or something,
I don't remember.
or 150, something like.
Yeah, maybe.
So the cost of one IB exam is $119, but if you take all six, like when you're a senior and you are sitting for, like I'm, say for example, I'm an IB diploma student and I'm gonna take all six exams, it's over $700.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money for,
But how many of our students take all 6?
They
I-
all do,
you
if
know,
they're in the diploma.
If they're in the diploma program and they want to be a
Yeah.
IB
Well,
diploma
like
candidate,
6 people, I forget.
No, we have 12 to about 16. I'm Jay,
Oh,
his
12.
student. I think Charlie was in a class that was one of the larger classes,
So
right?
we have 12 students that actually got the IB diploma, right? Yeah, I think that's the number you said me.
Yeah.
When I asked that.
Well, that,
question.
But even-
COVID took a little bit.
But even
we
if-
were really up before COVID.
but even if they don't take the diploma, they take the classes because it still counts. Yeah.
There's a lot of hundreds of kids.
Yeah.
taking classes.
And-
Yeah, but it's $700 for all 6 and then you get the diploma.
Oh, yeah, because
Well,
I.
and don't forget too, there might be more kids that actually take the exams, but maybe don't earn the, it's very difficult to earn the diploma. You have to get like, I think it's 36 points out of the 6 exams to actually earn the diploma. So a number of students actually sit for the diploma exams and don't actually earn it because the exams are so challenging.
We've had really good history though for our diploma kids. So we're fortunate.
Okay, so Jim, where are you on this?
I was gonna cut it,
You're gonna be able. you're gonna cut it.
unfortunately. Yeah, because like, if our district is, you know, partially,
I
I
think
see.
if we cut IB, you have to share it across the two. You can't-
yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, agreed.
So
And
that would be like 5,000 for I, 5,000
well, it
for
depends,
A.
yeah.
Well, I mean, this is just the IB line. I mean, we get to the AP line, those tests are somewhere else in the budget, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying I wouldn't cut it all from there.
Yeah.
Dean, and then Jay after Dean, and then Matthew.
So I understand the administrative difficulty of trying to differentiate between students who can pay and students who can't pay. How about this as a compromise? We fully fund it this time around. But then we tell people that they have to pay, but there is money available if they can't. Now, most people who can't, I suspect will say, I need a break. I don't find that some people are ashamed to admit that they can't pay a fee like that. But most people, I think, know if they've been hard up and they've been hard up for a while, I think they know where to go. They've swallowed it by now. They're going to be freeloaders, people who can't pay. And just come up and say, oh, I can't pay, because it's a bargain. You know, the supermarket's giving something away. It's 2 for 1. Of course, they're going to come in and they're going to get.
That's why I go to Costco's on Saturday, free lunch.
But by and large, and it may be just like, frankly, like us. We're one of the families that doesn't bother filling out the form because we know darn well we don't qualify for anything. So we're the ones that cause you a headache and don't give you a form. My wife will not fill it out. We don't qualify for anything, so we're not going to bother. We pay. I think most people in our situation would say, I can pay the fee. So why not fully fund it? But tell people, you're on your own, but if you need help, we happen to have some fun, some money. And let's see how that performs. Let's see how many people actually make use of the money. I realize we're going to miss some people who can't afford, but are too proud to say that.
But you can't count on that then.
I can't
Well, but it gives us data to track.
Yeah. Jay, what do you say?
So one of the other issues that was alluded to was that one of the ways we could determine whether the family might qualify is Husky, but we know the problem that presents with our military families.
Yep.
Because they don't qualify for Husky.
Right.
So I don't understand why after all these years of moving toward paying for the tests and the state picking up the SAT, why all of a sudden we would want to go backward
Yeah.
and start putting the burden back on. So what will be next? Next year, will we charge for textbooks? I mean, what path are we creating here? So I can't support this cut.
I'd like to hear from Andrea too.
Okay, wait. All right, Matthew.
Anne Marie, this may not be feasible, but
Matthew,
Tom-
go louder and talk.
it may not be feasible, but Tommy or Sally, who becomes a junior or senior when you take these tests, we knew them. I knew most of those, others than those who've come in since they came into high school, what their status was in terms of free and reduced lunch when they were in middle school. Is that data available to us so we can identify a?
This year's data is 63%.
So it's available to select people, obviously, in the district. It's not available to anyone. Like, for example, I can't get that data without special permission from the superintendent. Like I used to get it in my previous role, but I would have to have special permission from the superintendent to get it to access some of these reports or to, fill out like the paperwork for free AP status and stuff. The other piece of it is sometimes families' economic status changes, right? So maybe a parent gets a new job, or one parent wasn't working, but that parent gets a position. So if we had information about a child's status at the middle school level, and let's say hypothetically, and I don't know if this is true, maybe the middle school is not part of the CEP program. Is that the case?
Middle school, high school, and 3 of our elementaries are all CEP, just 2 are not.
Okay, so
Two
let's say one of our elementary schools is not CEP, and because of that, we know the status of the child. And at some point, it's possible, but doesn't always happen. But let's say it's at some point that child's family status or socioeconomic status changes. And then we would, in some ways,
You made your point. Okay, I'll support Jill's position.
Andrew? Andrea?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm really torn on this one. I think that, as I understand it, it's free for everybody right now?
Yeah.
Okay, but,
Increased our number of kids taking the test.
I'm sorry, say that again, Susan. Say that again.
We've increased the number of children who are taking the test is substantially, like only 7 to 17 in the past couple of years have not taken the test. Out of all
Okay.
the kids we took,
But that doesn't mean they passed it either.
doesn't mean it, but they're at least.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Mhm.
I want to be clear on that. You're taking
So
it.
we should leave things in place. Is that what I'm understanding?
But that's the question and that's the answer. We're looking for you to tell us how you feel about it.
I think
you
we
want-
should leave it. I think we should leave things in place for the moment. I think that's what Dean said too. But I have to tell you that I am totally exhausted and I'm not fully functioning. And I think I'm gonna leave the meeting because I am not productive in any way. So I would say leave things in place, and with my apologies, I am going to leave.
Okay.
Get some rest.
Have a
Thank you
good
so,
night.
thank
Night.
you. Thank you. Good night.
Well, for me, I'm in favor of cutting. I'm in favor of cutting it, $10,000. On the AP, on the IB. Now, I can't find where AP is.
Well, I'd
Can we-
rather take it from both.
Can we do the tally on this one and close it out and move on?
Can we do it for both? If it's 10,000?
Adrian is a no. Wait. Adrian, you wanna cut, right?
I
Adrian?
want to cut it.
Yes. The Adrian wants a cut. He said yes, he's a no for keeping it in. Ian, you wanna cut 10,000,
Yeah.
Ken wants to cut down to 10,000. Dean wants to fully fund it this year and I guess see what happens. I don't know. what
I
that
think
means.
I don't wanna speak for him, but I think his point was catch data.
Yeah, let's find out who's actually making a call on it instead of just blanket, everybody, everybody.
Ask for payment.
It's for free.
In the reserves
Just-
in case.
Okay,
Have it as a, yeah, like I
so
said,
he's a no, he wants to keep it fully funded. Jay's a no, Andrea's a no, and I'm cut 10,000.
And I'm a no. Mike Whitney's a no.
You're a no, Mike?
Yeah,
Okay, I
no
didn't know you were
cut for
back.
me.
Excuse me? You know,
Yeah, no cut for me.
No cuts.
no cuts.
water.
What about you, Matthew?
Oh, yeah, me too.
I'm going to vote to maintain it. I'm torn, but I
got 3 to.
would like Susan to consider the business of giving a pass on the final exam. The final exam is a portion of their education. The preparation for the final exam is a portion of their education. I don't think that taking an AP test
Or maybe,
that's not related to the budget, but I would like you to give some real consideration to that and come back to us later and talk about that.
you said cut, right?
It's a cut,
Okay, so actually I got 4 to 5.
they're fortified.
That fails.
And I would like, what Adrian says is very concerning to me, that the teachers will tell them, you don't have to take the final, if you take the what was that? Adrian?
AP exam. Apparently that's, I don't either, although I did talk to my child that's in college and he said that that's standard for schools, whatever that means, I don't know.
I'll
But
find out.
he said, because I mentioned to him that my thought on this and then thoughts on that, but he said that that was standard from the kids he knows, I guess.
For juniors and they get
For kids taking AP tests. I do want to say that over 750 students take AP tests. That should be an easy number to find, $770,000, because they're $100 each. So if we are actually paying for those AP tests, we should be able to find $70,000 in this budget. And I was in support of doing it equally if we can find that $70,000 of lowering that to 35 or something. But in additionally, what I would really like to know is maybe we could just take the kids that we know are in the AP track or IB track, but I would love to know how many of them are actually free and reduced lunch. How many of them are actually financially need, just as far as are we distributing things equitably among our students? So I think if you were to add, what's the theology or something like that, the class that they all have to take, if you add both of them, theory of knowledge, yeah. If you add both of those classes, it's something like 30 something kids. So we have a maximum of 30, whatever, 35 kids that could get IB diplomas this year and next year total. So I would be interested in knowing how many of those students are actually free and reduced lunch. Because I think that might be interesting. I mean, we know that students of high need are probably less likely to, be able to handle this
course load, so.
Well, that was something in the, it's changing. Good thing.
Are we spending $70,000 a year on agencies? You gotta find that
I'll
out.
have to find that out.
Right, can you send us an email? That should be easy to find out according to Adrian.
But it also should be obvious in the budget.
Yeah, and where is it in the budget?
Right.
Where is that in the budget?
That's something we should be able to do.
Okay, and just send us an email, yes, how much we're paying for agent tests and where we can find it in the budget,
All right.
right? And then Jen,
Jen had her hand up first.
go ahead, Jen.
I changed my mind.
She changes her mind, you're on, right?
No, yeah, I changed my mind, like, we shouldn't, I'm jumping the fence and, we should not reduce it because I'm tired of like families, just because they can afford it, they need to pay. And, this is a public school, this is public education, and everyone has a right to be able to get an education and not have to pay just because their family can afford it. So I'm changing my mind.
Oh, but other side one anyway.
I know.
You're on the right to be on the other side, on the winning side.
Well, I don't,
All right, go ahead, Ray.
Okay, I just
I'd like to
wanted,
know
I
that.
I heard that we want to be able to identify free and reduced. I don't think we can publicly identify free and reduced. Last district, I used to distribute the free and reduced and look at them and see who was on. Anne Marie is totally correct there, that legally we cannot tell you who in each class or how many in each class is free and reduced. So just be careful there of your ask. I know you're trying to statistically evaluate what we're doing, but just be careful, we don't overstep what we're doing.
Go ahead, Dean. Dean.
No, Matt had his hand up first.
Matthew.
Okay, two things. Can we legally, we're talking of a small number of kids for the IB. Can we send a letter to all the parents whose children are enrolled in the IB saying that you may or may not be eligible for subvention if you choose to fill out this form? You may be eligible for free testing if you meet the qualifications of the form. Please look at the form, decide if you want to fill it out. So there's a direct motivation for the family to fill out the form for a specific outcome. And then if they choose not to fill it out, they've chosen not to fill it out. Give that some thought and get back. The other question, I had a question for Anne Marie. I understood you to have said that if you have fewer than 36 points, you don't get the diploma. But if you have 32 points, do you get college credit for the classes that you did well in?
Jay just sent me a little text. What does this have to do with the budget?
Okay, get back to me. Yeah, thank you, Jay. Thank you, Grace. Let's on. Could you get back to me on that, Anne Marie?
Anne Marie's been out late 2 nights in a row and I'm looking at the clock and it takes her an hour and something.
Well, feel free.
So whenever.
Whenever you want to go, Anne Marie. We can just badge your shoes and.
We have to vote on Monday, so we don't.
I found 45,000. I don't know if, for pupil tests, I found 45,000.
That's probably.
It's,
Although it could be other things too. What it functions.
Yeah, there's.
it
a bunch of
doesn't make
special ed.
sense.
There's
It's,
stuff in speech and.
it's, 2120 guidance services and it's 45,000.
Okay, so anyway, we're not in favor, the vote didn't go the right way for reducing. What else you got? Dean, do you have something that has to directly to do with the budget?
Yes.
Time out. Do I leave the 10,000 in or take it out?
Leave it in.
Okay, thank you.
Wait,
You're welcome.
no, take it out.
So take,
Make it zero.
Make it zero.
right.
Oh, the reduction, yeah, make it zero. We're fully funding testing, right?
So I've been curious, this whole discussion, how if we don't know a blanket program, right? So we no longer have the data to determine who's free and reduced. How do we know we're at 63%?
Because we are able to, the free and reduced lunch forms are collected by our food services.
Right.
So it's our food service that is allowed to be able to figure out that number
So we do
based
have,
on SNAP benefits.
so we can come up with a number of not who, but a number of students
Well,
who,
you need to know who,
would-
if you want to see the.
I don't want to know who. All I want to know is if we don't collect the data, but then I see what you're saying. Yeah, we can't match it up. Never mind.
Adrian,
Yeah, so, I'm hoping we can move off of that,
yeah.
and then back to the other, this discussion, which was, functions. Did I write down what numbers they were? 2312, 2314, and 1700. So there was proposed reductions I made up there.
Well, are we done with Susan's? Are you?
No, she had said these two, and then she said
These last three, I'm just not seeing. I mean, I can do the 10,000,
if I can,
331, but I don't see
if I
how
can
I can
speak to
possibly
this,
others. Yeah.
I'll finish what I was saying. So today I did a little research, and I don't know if you remember these sheets from last year where we had FTE reductions, and we had lots of them. There was like 130 something of them to my count. Part of this, I found that there was, in what I voted for, there was one FTE reduction for full-time clerical and one part-time clerical in central office. But then when I went in and did the FTE counts in clerical, so in 24, before this budget, we had 7.4 in the adopted budget. So then we had voted on this, this piece of paper, because we didn't actually have this budget at that point. So we voted on the budget that we were given plus all the changes. And I couldn't find where that deduction happened. So in FY25, we went from 7.4 down to 7.3. And then it shows that we're in 26 in clerical, we're going up to 8 or to 8, correct, in FTEs in clerical between 2312 and 2314. So what I thought I voted on was a reduction, because we were taking reductions everywhere in clerical, and maybe that's why the numbers don't really add up, why we're so over budget. But did we actually have one and a half less FTEs in
There was
clerical in the central
definitely
office?
from IT, I know that.
Is IT in 2312?
Not in mine, it would be in the IT budget.
So we voted on, but it said right here, reduce, in line items 114, we should have lost one full FTE, and we should have lost a half of FTE in 134 in object codes. So that I'm going somewhere with this. So I see where I think that what we actually voted on was slightly different than the thing that got bound and went to the town. I might be wrong on that. Maybe there's other explanations. But then going to the numbers, if we just go straight year to year, 2312 superintendent's office in 2025 was 1,193,361. In my math, I'm off by $9 at the end of this. I didn't go back and find it, but so I'm just going to read out the numbers that I have though. So in 2026, we broke that up into 3 different parts. It was part of 1,700. I gave the line items last night, but we all know what they were. And then it was 2312 and 2314. If you add those things up, it goes to 1,397,557, which is an increase year over year of 204,196 in what last year was the superintendent's budget and now is superintendent. So it was all encompassed in the superintendent's budget. So of that, there was approximately $39,000 increase in legal. So if we take that out, because that's kind of the board's number anyway, the increase is 165,296. And then to break that down a little bit more, salaries went up 7.5%. Where to me, it seems like if there's no FTE changes, it should go up something like 3%. And everything else, though, went up by $90,522. So all of those other line items from year to year went up $90,000. And some of them I can understand, and this I didn't get last night, but professional services, I don't know what that is. But clearly we under budgeted it in 25, so so an increase of $20,000 on that seems appropriate. And like one of the line items, we're putting $35,000 into recruitment. 2 years ago, I think it was zeroed out last year, but 2 years ago, I think it was, I can look it up in the budget, but it was less than $5,000. It was
Where
like,
you going with all this?
In the 24 budget is $3,133.
I'm going, so where I'm going is, it's a huge increase in the superintendent's office, including superintendent and HR together. So that's why I made those recommendations to reduce salaries down to that $30,000 number, which would be a 3% increase on salaries. And then,
Reducing salaries. How are you reducing salaries?
I'm reducing it down to 3% because FTEs didn't change. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't seem logical that we would have a 7.5%. But we did ask yesterday, this came up yesterday, it came up last week, and it came up the week before that, and now we're
We haven't-
voting Monday. So that's why I'm kind of feeling like I'm on the back burner here. And this is a lot of money. This totals up to over $100,000. But the $90,000, I mean, so maybe that $20,000 increase, and maybe we could say a $10,000 increase for recruitment because we know we don't have enough employees and spend a
Can I
lot.
tell you what that's for?
But, well, I think that we just need to talk about the big numbers. I mean, part of it, I am very curious if that 1.5 FTEs was actually cut from the office that we voted on
I
last
know
year.
one, because she's not here, anymore. She retired. We did not fill the position.
But so it doesn't show that in the FTE counts. And now it shows we're going up by 0.6 in clerical.
In cleric, because he's asking for it back, because he said he couldn't live without it, because he doesn't have anybody to. assist him.
We didn't cut clerical from 24 to 25. It stayed, we cut it by 0.1. It went from 7.4 to 7.3, adding the two codes together, like HR and the superintendent's office. Now it's going up to 8.0, but last year we voted to reduce it by 1.5. So
The other category is teaching and learning, and I do know who the people are in each of those categories that report to me, that work with me. And, so if you want me to tell you kind of what those positions are, so you are aware of who the FTEs are in each of ours, I can help you to understand it. The 35,000 is for recruiting, but it's really an intern position. Through that as a student getting a master's degree. And it's one of our own students that, we want to grow and become a teacher. So sometimes they come, to us, they might even be one of our own students, but, they come to us, and that's one of the ways that we're able to grow our teaching force. So it's a pretty important.
We're paying that person 35,000. She's working for us part-time, or they.
And she's already got her bachelor's, or he, and they're working on their masters, and they're doing an internship and student teaching. And then, can come and work for us if they've done well.
But that's,
so it's an extra.
To recruit,
but
but
that's
it's
a new,
also an intern position.
that's not what the line item says.
Yeah,
Yeah.
minority
And
recruitment.
we have to get rid of that line.
Yeah, it was supposed
Well,
to.
we're gonna
say,
We have this.
change it, but that's clearly different than that's clearly different than what recruiting seems like to me. But we're talking about cutting field trips for math for $1,400.
We can't-
And no, I agree.
That's-
I agree, but that's where we are in this budget. We're trying to find money. And I don't see how that $35,000 is going to benefit our students. I mean, maybe in the long term, that person sticks around, but I imagine there's some statistics on that, and I imagine it's a percentage that's not
So you're
99.
saying cut the 35,000.
So I'm saying that we should hold the superintendent's budget flat except for
Well, you have
The-
contractuals.
the contractual salary increases of 3%, because I don't even know what happened with positions last year. And what is the other one? The professional services increase for 19. I'll find it here in a second, whatever that line item was. 331, professional services, because I think that
It's 577.
Oh, 2312.
Yeah, what was the total on that? Because I have a whole budget book here.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Total superintendent's office,
Yeah.
as proposed.
742.
Yeah, 742,000.
800.
742,000.
800.
well, I would like to make this, motion or proposal. You can't break it apart like that, because going year over year, you have to include the HR office, because they were all included last year. So my proposal would be to limit spending increases, divide it up between those three categories: 2312, 2314, and 1700, and let Susan figure out how she wants to allocate with those increases.
All right, I can do that.
Can I just make a comment?
Go ahead, Jen.
Um. So, because I was getting frustrated, I took those three, I summed them up, compared it to 24. I've been saying this since December of last year. There's a 96,000 increase in 114. We asked the prior manager what it was. So as far as I'm concerned, we've asked, no one knows what it is, or if they do, they're not telling us. So if we cut it, no one's gonna miss it. 96.
Wait,
Right.
I think Susan, you said you had an
I
answer.
know who these people are. I know who's in our budget.
Okay,
Well, what's the 96,000 dollars?
So in this budget for clerical, I have, of course, you know who sits to help support both Anne Marie and me. And then, I have someone who's supporting me specifically and the board. We also have an additional person who's online with us now who supports the board. And that's, that's where we're calling admin temp. Part-time. And then we also have, believe it or not, the registrar is under me. So that's always been, the registrar is under me. In the budget for HR,
So
there are four.
4,000 admin temp, is that on line 134?
114. So Beverly, I summed those three categories, right? And then I compared it to the 2024, I guess, or last year's budget. And it's an increase of 96.
In the 193.7,
In 114,
yeah, 193.7.
in yours.
That's in superintendents.
And then in the 2314, it's 263,000.
And that's 4 people.
Yes,
that's-
I'm not questioning that, right?
Okay.
So then you compare it to the 24 number, it's an increase of, I'm just rounding 100,000 right now. It's really 95. I've been asking about it.
People increase 100,000.
I've been asking about this since last year. And that's why I said if
I'm
no
adding-
one,
There's 3 people under me and there's 4 people, that's 7 people.
I don't care about the number. I'm just saying it's an increase from the prior year of 100,000 or 95.
7 people.
I guess. I don't know if it's the 7 people. You tell me. It's numbers. All I can do is numbers. I don't know who are the people behind that numbers.
So this-
Okay.
This is again,
Yeah.
It's in the budget.
again, like,
Wait.
oh,
Are you done?
And then, 35,000, I was thinking of it as like, because it said minority recruitment on it, so that was on my list. So, and that pains me because I've been like, participating in DE&I, but I was willing to count that because the way you recruit someone who's a DE&I candidate should not be different than someone who's a majority. So that's why I was willing to cut that.
So you wanna know what that $100,000 is?
I've been asking for like 4 months now. That's why I said if,
Well,
yeah.
the salaries add up to that.
Ian might have the same concern.
Well, I do, and there were some emails I went back and forth about this after, the previous finance director disclosed that during the meeting, that there was like some differentials, and the best information I got back was like that there was miscategorization between 105 and 114. But still, there was no like
Oh, yeah, I remember
discussion,
that.
yeah, there was no discussion about like, where the positions originated from, or when, or how long they've been around for.
Was that the
But-
double, whatever you were talking about?
No,
No, okay.
no.
Yeah, so,
These
so,
positions have always been the ones I know about
Okay,
that are in the budget.
go ahead, Ian, I'm sorry.
so to that end, I'm just gonna put another plug in for a more articulated budget. We had titles and positions and salaries for each of these. It'd be easier to track. So when changes like this happen, categorical changes, where we break up one big function code into 3 function codes, we'll be able to track by title and position what positions went where. And that can help clarify a lot of confusion. Once again, if we had one additional drop down inside the function codes that would articulate exactly like what, this object code for professional services is for this service, this service, this service. These administration positions are for this title, this title, this title with these salaries. Like, that's what we need. That's what's lacking here. And I think that's what's leading to a lot of the confusion.
Ray, is that something that if we shift to Munis, that would be easy to do?
You'd still have to manually drop in the who
Oh, okay.
for the
So-
titles. Which,
Either way, I mean, the software can handle it.
All right,
so
but that
no,
doesn't
you'd
help.
still have to manually, you didn't hear what I said. You'd still have to manually enter it.
Okay. Well, Jen still has a question and you want to answer to it. Right, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, like, because otherwise, like I said, Susan, like, we've been asking, and I made that flip remark when I first opened that if nobody can tell me, nobody knows, then nobody's gonna care that we're reducing it. I'm serious about that.
Well, I'm saying that the 193, 707 are 3 very important people. They've been here for quite a long time. And, it's
So then maybe it's,
the board and my executive administrator, it's the.
I'm not saying to cut, I'm not saying to cut the people. I'm just saying, I'm trying to understand why there's 100,000 or 95,000 increase.
That's what she's.
That's all I care about. I don't care, like, it appears that there's a salary in there with maybe no staff count in there, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know
The
because,
ones in mind that are showing here,
yep,
it's absolutely the registrar and these 2 people.
But
who
you
are-
must know why there's such a big increase. That's what
Yeah,
Jen wants.
I'm not
Why-
telling you to reduce those people. I am not. I just want to understand why it's an increase, like maybe the salaries that are in there. Like you said, you found duplicative, maybe there's one that's in here that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to understand
Right.
Why is it?
why is that? Is that our consultant?
Mhm. Right. Could be that. Could be better. Because that happened last year when it was
No, he's
something
not.
Okay.
Sam's budget. Salary, and the town council brought that out, why is this? And then we found out it was something, I forget what it was. But
So Ray, are you able to, I just know who these people are. It looks like a decrease in my budget because they've moved out the others.
Yes, and this is where,
And it looks like an increase in HR because it's the first time we've ever had it.
this is why I was
And
saying,
it's
when
4
you're
people,
doing an
263
when-
divided by 4 people.
this is why I'm saying, when you're doing a function transfer in the current year, you need to take the history so that we can have a good comparison.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we did not do that.
I know.
Yes,
So
we did. It's up here now.
So,
Up on the
What's
screen.
that?
yeah,
Oh,
look-
yeah,
It's on the
that's the-
screen.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I went,
You
Enlarge that larger?
It was also sent to us in
last night.
email at 2:30 this afternoon.
Okay. Well, I didn't check mine. I was on flight.
Yeah.
so,
You didn't pay for Wi-Fi?
No, I didn't. I was sleeping.
so you see the 25,
Oh, see, his number has it too.
you see what it goes to for the superintendent. Just the superintendent, and that's administration, that's Anne Marie and me. And then you see what it is in HR for the administrator, HR administrator.
Do you see the second line? That's,
And it's basically a 17,000 increase to 3.05, which is what you were suggesting, Adrian.
no.
What line are you on, Jen?
I'm on the 114, the one right, the
114.
one right below that
Okay.
one. His own spreadsheet has it too, so I'm not making this stuff up.
Yeah, see?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
$96,000 increase.
And there it is,
No additional people.
There it is.
Mhm.
In living color.
95,675.
All right, you have to get that to us.
All right.
Susan. If not, we're deducting that. But not just.
So did central office deduct those 1.5 FTEs that we voted on last
You
year?
know, we deducted the one. I can't be certain about the 0.5. I don't know who that was.
So maybe the salary never came out. That could be it.
That could be it.
Well, that's what it
I don't know.
it looked to me like we voted on something that was different than what ended up in the book. By looking at the FTEs, but they're clearly confusing. So
There are two other full-time positions that I don't know where they are accounted for. And that's half of the grants, because the other half is in a title, and half of the, the grants coordinator, and then half of the, communication specialist. She's in, but I thought she was in teaching and learning.
Which goes back to Dean's point. All the things are accounted for, and then the funding was also like
There.
itemized down here. It'd all be in one place.
We'll have to do better next year.
Yeah.
All right, but you have to find out the answer.
Yeah,
Let's,
but I don't think we should.
you're gonna be $96,000 short.
I would like to just propose something and see if people are interested, if the board is interested in it, which is reducing the
You don't
number,
wanna hear.
which is what's on there, more or less. So I would like to propose a salary increase from last year of 3%, which is $30,000 on the salary line between the three function codes. I would like to propose a $19,600 increase for that line. Professional, is it professional services?
Oh, 331.
Yeah, 331.
Yeah, three. So at least that's what I'm proposing in the bottom number that I'm proposing is the $19,600 number there. And then the legal increase of 38,900. I am proposing to have an increase, the total line items for lines 430 to 626 on function 1700, 2312 and 2314 to be 1,171,861.
What are you doing? This is on the superintendent's budget?
On all three of those, because we can't, at least I can't break it out because it was one thing, now it's three things. So what I'm doing is going back to last year at one thing and putting increases that I think are fair.
So where you see all those zeros?
Yeah, that's in 1,700. That's why I included those line items in here.
Okay.
I'm just saying that we increased this budget line item by $204,000, the superintendent's office. It's like 17% year over year. When we look at it apples to apples. I personally feel like the kids took a really big hit last year. I shouldn't say the kids. students and staff that directly work with students took a very big hit yesterday, and all I'm recommending is that we have basically a 0% increase in this budget aside from salaries. Well, not even 0%. There isn't an allowance for professional services. Legals, or,
So you're saying,
so I'm proposing
other than
1,000
salaries, no increases in the superintendent's budget.
other than 3% increase on salaries.
Right, right.
And that's
2%.
why I was explaining it out. I wrote it all down here. So the $30,000 increase, so basically last year's budget,
Mhm.
1,193,361 plus 30,000 salaries plus 19,600 for professional services plus 38,900 for legal services. We do it that, I had a different way of doing it with the, so, but if I leave the legal services in,
Mhm.
wait, then I deducted the total legal out. But basically it gets rid of legal all the way out of the superintendent's office. So it would be a total of 1,171,861.
I don't even know which sheet one.
Did you come and say that again?
It's
1,171,861.
231, 214.
And that would be lines
No, I made this up.
430 to 626 and function 1,700. And then function 2312 and 2314.
In the same lines, 430?
No, like the full function. So the 1,700 was the only one that had part of the superintendent's budget in it.
Mhm.
So that would be a savings, I thought I just wrote it down here, of, I wrote it down here, but it's about $115,000 deduction on the budget.
So you're just saying take the FY 25 budget.
And add 3% for salaries and for professional services
And legal, he said.
and legal.
And that's it. Everything else goes.
And it would be 115,000. Yeah, but that's in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
separate, that's in a
But
separate
that's a
thing.
separate, he was
So
like,
it
I'm
would be
sorry.
115,696
That's what we'll be saving.
would be the savings on the budget,
115,000.
696.
But that's more than the 95,000.
Well, I deducted, so you had the salary increase was 74,777. So there's still another, $45,000 in salaries that we're reducing in what I'm proposing. If people wanted to amend my recommendation and just add for the full salary line that Susan's proposing, we could add 45,000 to my number and it would, within a $200 be the same. And that would fully fund the salaries. And that would fully fund the salaries to what is in the proposed budget.
I can't.
If we added 45,000, and that would reduce the total savings by so now the total savings would be about 70,000 approximately.
That's fine.
So I'm going to propose one thing and then everybody else. So I'm going to propose what I just said, which would be 115,696 savings. But if you wanted to propose something different,
I propose to 70.
it would be the 70,000. So I'll stop talking now, or you can say nothing.
Does that account, I just want to clarify, is that taking into account the 95,000 variance? Or is this exclusive of that? And that's another issue.
I think that takes it.
I think it takes it
I
into
think-
account the way he did the math.
Well, yeah, with the
Sorta.
so I deducted the variance in salary, basically. I just went on last year's salary because I think that's what we voted on last year.
Right. got it.
And why we can't hold that number, I don't know, but that's a separate thing.
All right, so I just wanted that for my notes here.
Jay, did you hear this discussion?
Yes, it's very difficult to follow this verbally. I'm used to seeing the proposal in writing, so I won't be able to vote on this. I would rather have Ray determine why the mischaracterization between the 105 and the 114 filtered through to this year, because we were told that that was being addressed.
Okay, Jen, who wants to jump in? Ian.
I'm in support of Adrian's mega motion.
Mega motion.
And one,
Yeah, the all-inclusive number.
So that means that we go with the FY 25, we keep salaries the same. And at the end of all three of those budgets, I might have to take a copy.
Yeah, you can take a
And-
picture of it or something.
Yeah,
Um,
and then it should come out to be 70,000, you said?
1171861.
I know, but I thought you were just gonna raise it by 70,000, or that's the total.
That's the total that I was recommending, but so I'm recommending a reduction of 1,150, 100,015.
But then
We'll
you
put
said
it that
70.
way. People can offer an alternative of 70 if they wanted to fully fund. I wanted to be fair to do the math for everybody. If they wanted to fully fund the salaries, they could reduce that 115 savings down to $70,000.
salaries fully funded?
Not what I proposed, but
Are you gonna cut
First-
salaries?
I am increasing last year's salaries by 3% in my calculation
With no
So-
new position.
with no new positions added.
Okay,
There's last year, so I increased salaries across the board by 3%, which I think is accurate for the administrators at least.
Yeah.
But I included all of the salaries in that number, so that would be $30,000. It's like $1 million almost exactly in salaries. To go with the salaries number that's in the superintendent's budget would be so to go with that salary number, but then take all of my recommended, efficiencies would be a $70,000 increase.
what's the salary number in the budget, the 3.05%?
Well, you have to add.
Can I offer a pass?
To make sure we can make that proposal now, but I would like Ray, to be able to go to HR to look at those salaries to make sure they're 3% increase from one year to the other. And there's other things in the contract too, that
What's that?
have to decide when it comes time for next year. We want to make sure we have.
What was the other three numbers?
There's,
The 3 lines
No, no. you-
He
the
did
number.
salaries.
I know, but
He's not doing benefits.
that's the
10,000.
one
is the savings
that's in my summary.
from a 3% salary.
So that's where you.
Oh, I thought it was,
Oh, yeah, it's,
No,
oh, yeah, it's
wait, 1 second.
115,696.
All right.
So Ray, can we double check on that math and make sure we're accurate, but really keep in mind the theory is that we're going from FY 25 budget with no increases to FY 26 in those three categories.
No,
Based
only those three
In
categories.
those three categories.
Yeah.
Legal fees, professional services, and salary.
Well,
That's it.
I
Everything
mean,
else
three
is zero.
functions, for the three
Oh,
functions. that
yeah,
are
yeah,
now- That were one function.
Well, do you want to see should I do the math on what the salary increase was? I can do that in a minute here.
Wait 1 second, because we have
Well,
a
there's
lot of
other- there's annuities,
conversations
so there's
going
other
on,
things
and
in the
that
Contract,
is,
Adrian, that's.
so just hold tight, man.
Okay.
Hold tight.
So I think we have to look at the contracts to make sure we have everything in it.
All right, so now, go ahead, Matthew.
Conceptually, I agree with Adrian. But I also want to allow with what Jay said about being very difficult, at least for me, to vote on something where I really haven't seen all the figures, where I can look at them and take the time to reflect. So what I would propose to Adrian and Ian is that we table this until next Monday, during which time Adrian and Ray can get together to be sure that there's mutual understanding about what we're looking at. And and Ray and Susan, thank you. So that we can get together next Monday with some mutually agreed upon figures, and then we can make a reflective decision. I don't think I'm capable of making a decision tonight.
But or just Ray and Susan getting back to us.
I'd like Adrian in the discussion as well.
Well, I say Susan and Ray, and then they can come back to the board.
What he's got.
But I want to be sure that Ray understands Adrian's concerns completely, so he can address, let them have the discussion, so there's no doubt when we get together Monday that everybody agrees, so that Adrian will say, I understood you to have said, Ray can say to Adrian, I understood you to have said that there's definite agreement on the numbers, so we don't find ourselves on Monday seeking further clarification and kicking this can down the road any further. We need to resolve this by Monday.
I was able to get to Adrian's number independent of what he said.
Yeah.
So, because I did, so I support Adrian.
The 115.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just round it to
I just think
120.
So the,
Contracts, they're, I want to make
It's
sure.
the board's budget, it's the board's budget going forward, so if we need to take a challenge and Adrian and the board gave you 120, maybe you don't take it all from this line, but we need to find that challenge. Right?
I don't know what that means.
It means like if he tells you, I'm sorry that you don't understand, but if he's telling you that like, okay, it's like 120 that needs to be reduced, and if you can't take it in those lines, then you're gonna have to find it somewhere else. We're gonna need to start cutting, but preferably here, because I can see where he's coming up with the 120. So you should be able to get.
I do understand going from FY 25 and keeping it zero base on, but when you're talking about contracts, I just want to make sure it's enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Adrian, you okay with what I suggested?
alternative to go with the salary number that you have. I mean, so if we just go the total salaries and wages, that number on the two functions, 2312 and 2314, that number sums up to 1,073,794. That's, I'm leaving Medicare and Social Security out of it. So in last year, that number was 999,000. So it's $75,000 increase. So that's where I came up with the variable. So I think we'll be relatively close on that number. If I just throw out that, that's why I threw out that, I told you the math that I used to get to my, savings of 115, what was it, 696 or something? 696. That was the math I used to it. If you wanted to include all the salaries, be slightly different. It would be $70,000. If there was a mistake in the math, using the same logic, I think that's would be an easier thing for the board to take up next week. So if my math is wrong, you can take a picture of this and look at it. And if my math is wrong, we can correct that in a meeting. But if the math is right, then we made a decision on what we have right now.
But we didn't really take a vote at 115 yet.
I know. Well, that's what
So we didn't make a decision yet.
we started to take a vote.
Yeah, that we did.
Correct.
Are we going to?
Well, let's see. We could do it on Monday. See what the math comes out to.
I mean, I could even work with Ray. Ray, are you at home tomorrow? Working or
Hold
not?
on here. I'm clicking too many things here. Hang on.
Are you okay with involving Adrian with this?
About that now. Okay.
I'm in the office tomorrow, Susan.
Okay, I mean, we called Adrian today just to talk to him, so we, depending on your schedule, he can, kind of run through it and just to double check, and then we can give you a call if there's a good time to talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, before ten.
I
or-
do have a meeting at 9:30 or
Nine.
10.
Mike,
So I'm not asking for a recap. I missed part of this, but code 114 between the accounts, same number of people in last year's budget as in this year's, and the number's up by 95,000. That's
Yeah, that's it.
26%. Is it that? That's what it is?
yeah,
So same number of people, it's up
yeah,
what seems like too large.
yeah,
So-
seems like a lot.
Yeah. So also check last year's numbers because some of the other function codes I brought up and it's been answered in the FAQs is actually last year's numbers that were incorrect. Not this year's.
Bless you.
So just check FY 25's adopted budget and see if that made sense as well as if this one makes sense. Because I was using that as a true benchmark, and that benchmark was off at least in some of the
I
codes.
saw that a few times up and down Mike, and the
Yeah.
actuals for 24 is what we've really been using as the benchmark. But that's 2 years away, but then, some were right on and some were not.
Yeah.
Jay,
Mike is spot on right there. What we need to do is just look at the actuals for those people. It's not very many people. And just come up with the actuals and see if it matches 25. That should be very easy to do.
Right. Knowing who those people are, what were the actual 24, and then
okay, you can do that.
yeah, I'll work with Ray on that
Okay,
tomorrow.
and then you work on the 115, that Adrian's suggestion. And then we can decide on Monday about that. That will save us either $70,000 or $115,000.
Or zero.
Yeah, I just wanted
Or
to,
zero. Or
I
zero.
just want to voice support for Matthew's proposition. I think, as the numbers are determined,
Yeah, I'll work with-
we should
yeah.
have everybody in the room, or in the conversation.
Well,
so
that's why
that-
we'll do it on Monday. That's what I'm
Right,
saying.
right. So mutually agreed upon terms as far as like what we're
The
talking about.
board will decide together.
So what is our bottom line now? Where are we?
7.5.
Where are we?
Oh,
7.5?
Sucks on.
oh, 7.85.
There was
Can you
one,
give us, the bottom line, if we took out 100,000, if we took out the 70,000, or where we are now without taking anything out?
5:30.
He already took it out, right? Does that say 115?
115 and 30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But that's per Adrian's proposal.
I would,
yes.
is that the field trip, the 1,400? That's for our math league.
We haven't done that yet.
I know, that's the math league. I wouldn't take that out. That's a club.
no,
No, take. We don't.
Want
wanna
to just do a
take
quick
that.
vote on that and make it official?
Yeah, let's do that. Just give it to Mike.
Like it's
We don't know exactly what it is, though. What
Yeah, I
math-
do. It's the math league. They have an after-school club at the high school where they compete in
Uh-huh.
mathematics. I think it's called Math Counts or Math League.
You all add that in? Was that part of the budget?
Well,
Was
they were
that a wish
asking
list?
about it. They were asking about the 1,400, could it be saved as a field trip in math? And I said, we found out from Matt that it is actually for the math league, which is a competitive team. Mathematicians that I would want to see that opportunity.
How do you feel about keeping that in the budget, the 1,400?
Right, that's.
I'm fine with it. You found out during the meeting, I guess. Yeah, yeah. And Mathlete's a long-standing competition.
It's a wonderful competition.
How do you feel about that, Matthew?
Um,
Yes, okay. Jen,
So keep it in.
keep it in. Dean,
I would zero out line 35.
That's what I said. That's what I want to,
Yeah.
just to be clear.
Negative to the cut.
what it?
Yes.
Zero out line 35.
Yeah,
Yes.
keep it in the
Double
budget.
negative.
I'm with
Line
Dean.
35, proposal to cut 1,400 from.
So we're gonna put a 0 there.
You're cutting it out.
No. He's
We're
cutting
cutting
the
it out
cut.
there.
He's cutting the cut.
Ah,
Yeah.
oh,
So yes, we're,
And I would do the same I did the same for NROTC.
what's in there, wasn't it? 1,500?
That was a remove.
Oh, to cut it, okay, all right.
yeah,
I'm with Dean.
All right, so, all right, you're gonna keep it in, keep it in, keep it in, keep it in, keep it in,
I do not want to cut the $1,400.
and keep it in. Adrian?
Cut the cut.
I'm with Dean.
I think we're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We do this, we do the same.
No, I'm
It's a
just,
double negative, so
it's because it's the
closer.
double, yeah,
Whatever.
whatever.
Okay.
Maintain funding.
All right,
Could we do the same thing for ROTC? Could we maintain funding for ROTC?
Yeah.
I think we might as well just put that back in.
I see.
I still, do we
I,
ever get a
I
break-
agree.
I never,
Let's restore that.
Yeah,
for ROTC,
we don't have a vote. Or was that Jay?
All right.
That was Jay.
What did he say?
for ROTC, I may have missed it from last meeting because like I had to go unexpectedly, but I just know it was $50,000 as round numbers, what was approved last year, but never got a breakdown of what it is. And so seeing that's a round number, for me, there's only two reasons for that. One, it's an estimate, or their actual costs exceed that, and this will help defray some of the costs.
Get a breakdown on it?
We can get a breakdown.
And where was that accounted for in last year's budget? Because
I don't think it was.
the 1091 is a new function
Yeah.
code.
Yeah, but they found it somewhere.
Right.
He
It
has
wasn't
that
a
one.
separate function code like
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
And I,
I thought you said it was a grant.
Well, I mean, there's a number, there's a reason for the number. That's all we need to
right,
know.
well, yes, and
I remember things, Susan.
You do,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
was, well, do you have,
What's a breakdown on that?
She's younger than we are, Susan.
It could be.
She's younger
do
than.
you have the request from the department head?
I'm not that
Do you have
much
the
younger
request
than
from the
you.
department head on
I've
that
just
line?
always been that way. Like I can remember what somebody said 5 years ago.
Yeah.
20, 25
So it
years.
was uniforms originally was the big ticket item.
Right.
Majority of that. But now, because of the competitive nature and the experience to be in the field and to come to veterans things, there's a lot of transportation costs.
Mhm.
There's grown competition, so there's a lot of other after-school activities, so I'll get it. for you.
Well, if it's transportation cost, it should be on the transportation line and not in there.
Well, transportation's broken up between 15, like sports and activities, every
But then
every
if you
function
say
code.
Transportation.
I'll
doesn't
get
say
you-
one
I'll get you what-
transportation,
Okay.
and just 50,000.
Yeah, have 50,000 broken out.
Yeah.
That'd be good to have.
How we doing, Ray?
Just ducky.
What's our number?
You are at 94, 569, 464. Total increase of 6,610,980 at 7.52%.
And that's with the reducing the budget by 115,000?
Yes, that's inclusive of all of these changes.
Okay.
Ray, may I ask Ray a question?
Go ahead.
Ray, looking at the electricity adjustment, do you think that there are going to be some savings from that 200,000 figure you have?
Savings?
Well, that we're going to, that there's a opportunity to reduce that 200,000 additional cost.
No.
No.
No. I recommended a 400 and I'm rolling the dice hoping I can get a better contract. And we're still gonna need that 200.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, last night, we had left off on 1412 summer school. Which now there's a pretty noticeable increase in.
What was the increase? 90,000 or no?
Well,
went up to
it
90.
went from 40 up to 91,583. But if we just go from 25 to 26 and kind of forget that 40,000 number, it would still be like a roughly $22,000 increase. Or,
I think I did talk to Adam Diskin, who runs it, and he said he could do it for 50. So we could take
so that'd be a 41,583 savings.
This is function 1312.
Yeah,
1412.
can I just give Bev the cliff notes?
so
Yeah, so it's page 565. Bev, I don't know if you remember, but John asked a question and we had questions about the sports stipends. Seemed like there was a big increase.
Who's John?
John Burt.
Oh, okay.
But we had also talked about it in meetings before, that there was a big increase. It was an answer in the FAQ. Those were basically, these increases were more or less taken away. They're like a 1% increase now. So they're made to look just like last year. And money was moved, the balance was moved into this line item, summer school, which is 40,000. What that FAQ answer said is add the money there, so it would be 91,583 into summer school.
So then we can't take away the.
Well, we can reduce it by 41,583 if we make it 50,000. So that would be a big savings if it,
So you wanna make summer school line item account 123?
yeah,
You wanna make it what do you wanna make it?
50,000.
You
50,000.
wanna increase it,
It's actually decreasing.
well, increase it from the 40,000 that's there now. I don't know how much.
Function.
I think you missed the meeting where we.
Yeah, so it's an increase from what it looks like right now because that number has changed in the FAQ. So,
Oh, okay, I don't know.
so I have to find it in here. Well, it was answered. I can find it, but so as I find this, we'll assume that I was correct in my memory, and then we can change it.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, all right, so line number 89 on the FAQ. So basically, this was the answer. Function 1500, object code 126, good read. So if we go to function 1500, if you want to mark, we did this yesterday. Mark line 126.
Function for 50.
Should read 358, 510.
That's what it should read.
Yep, so that would be a 5,000.
6.
Mhm.
Yep, so 126 in the blue highlight for function, yeah, it should be 358, 510. Then the next line down, 127, which was made a 0, should read 102, 797.
What line was that again, Dean? I mean, Adrian?
This is function code 1500,
Yeah.
lines 126 and 127.
127.
Yep.
So,
Did you get the numbers right?
No, I missed that. I was trying to squeeze
The
everything in.
number for line 126 on function code 1500 should be
Yep.
$358,510.
Okay, and then function, object 127,
Should be $102,797.
150,797.
102,797.
I got it.
Okay,
all right, and then the answer is those two object codes had been consolidated, so they just unconsolidate them. And then they said they can be broken out. It says the balance of 51,583 will be distributed over the function 1412, object 123. So that's where I'd come up with that 91,583 to just change that 40 to 91,583.
I got 50.
40. Oh, I just read what it told me.
Right, and there's
I
$1,000,
get a differential of 52,000
583.
plus 40 gives you the 92. Yeah, I got
All
your.
right, we'll let Ray figure out the $1,000.
He and I agree once again.
you know you're gonna get 10 different budget books.
One more time, guys, one more time.
The room, you might need to find another room.
All right, so I guess if Susan is saying that we would like $50,000 for summer school, which is a $20,000 cut or $19,000 cut from this year. Then I would propose removing somewhere around $42,000 from that line item
From summer school,
from summer school and making it 50,000.
Okay, so that 41,583 reduction, I'll leave that there for now on the
Okay.
screen.
On at 41,000.
And then you're gonna have to figure out how much exactly it is.
Well, I'll back into it, you know,
We're down to 7.4.
still call it 7.5.
As Ray
3/10
and I are going through it, with your permission, if I see anything else glaring, especially if I find 4 positions. I will let you guys know ahead of time.
Okay. Mike, and then just.
Pass this
let you
back,
wrap
this
it up
isn't-
for tonight on this.
So I've got, when I was talking about the FTE increases and decreases, the question I still had was about the aides. And so I have a specific reduction to suggest. And it's in function code 1101, elementary pre-K. That's on 5-7.
Well, give us a chance to get there.
Yeah, of course.
What page are you on?
5-7, function 1101.
Any particular object, Mike?
I can't hear you?
Any particular object code?
Yes, 130, actually, it's the regular teacher aides.
Okay,
So,
1101.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is, part of the larger, this big grouping of total paras, tutors, aides, and security. That was up overall by 21.2. The aides were up by 12.5. And in this specific function code, the aides are up by 5.2. I don't have any notes on why, and there's no budget narrative, but the increase has been, it went from 2 at Charles Barnum up to 4.5, which is consistent with our actual for whatever reason. So basically, the real question is, why is our actual so different from our adopted budget? Because what's happening is this large increase on line 130 in number of aides that reflects what was approved in last year's budget to what's in this proposed budget actually has already happened. And it's just regular aides. It's not special ed in this case. So it's up like from 14.3 regular teacher aides in the adopted budget last year up to 19.5. And I do acknowledge that that's in the actuals right now. So I mean, we may just not have talked about this, honestly, because I don't have any notes on the either version, or I may be forgetting that we talked about it. So that was an increase that's rather large. No, the narrative sometimes only goes for the certified, and then sometimes it has the aides. Sometimes it doesn't.
It could be with the special ed aid.
There's not this one's not special ed, because special eds I think is 111.
5-6.
Yeah, it has 111.
That special ed number doesn't look right.
Well, it's not special ed because I believe special ed, that code is 111. And it's the big increases in 130, which is also part of this. That's where the $262,000 increase is.
Can you let me talk to Lori and Ray, because I feel like 111 and 130. To me, it's like, it should be the opposite. Numbers aren't looking right to me.
Well, maybe. I just don't know why. Actually, I don't know why, like, I guess if you could answer at this point why the actual is so different from the adopted in what looks like regular aides there. So it's what's the people there right now. It's kind of double.
you're talking about the fiscal year 24, Mike? Why the actual there?
What year would you call this year?
This is 20, we're in 25.
Yeah, I'm talking about 25.
Okay.
So basically, it's compared to what was in the adopted budget last year, it's roughly kind of like, it's not double, but at a lot of
Pretty
schools,
close.
double the aides. And so the proposed budget just keeps that the same, right? but it's very different from the adopted. So the proposed budget seems to reflect what's actually in the schools. I just don't know why that increase happened. And I don't have any rationale for that. I think it's really important to have that rationale when that question comes up at other
I think we should
stages.
double check that number too, Ray.
Yep, we'll take a look at it in the morning.
Double check and give us an answer. if you
Yeah.
don't mind.
Double check and get you.
No, I'm gonna keep it to myself. No, of course, I'm teasing.
At this,
Wait.
Yeah.
Ian,
Sure.
I'll just close out one sentence or two. At this point, I'm not proposing a specific reduction, but I'm identifying it as a place that I can't yet support the increase.
Right,
Yeah.
I hear you. Dean,
Yeah, so again, when I look at these numbers, so 111 and 130 are getting rid of the FTEs. So when I add the 111 and the 130 from the budget, from budget to budget, not the actual, but budget to budget, we had based on our adopted, we budgeted altogether 321, 821 for year ending this year. And we had budgeted for 14.3 FTEs. So now we're increasing to it looks like we're increasing to 584, 716 for an additional 5 and then some. And that doesn't seem to jive. And when I do the famous average, although it's not a big group, but I don't imagine the pay spread's that great. When I do an average, it's like an average 33% increase. So something isn't aligning.
That's what I think.
Something isn't aligning between the FTEs for that combined group, the 111 and 130 and the dollar figures.
yeah, that's what Susan's gonna find out
Yeah.
first.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ian.
I was just gonna ask, I'd like to just kind of get squared up on the current tracker. So if there's a way we could zoom out, I could take a quick picture of the full screen. Um,
Can we send this to everybody so they
I'll
can?
email it. Although last night when I emailed it, it didn't get to
Didn't come
anybody
till
till this morning.
Right, I just want to be able to update my parallel sheet current to the meeting.
Can you try to email it to us now and see what happens? Yeah, you got your computer.
Yeah, but I don't have Wi-Fi here. Yeah, no.
Make sure you.
Matthew was
CC
telling me
if
the
it
same
comes through,
thing.
Ray.
I think that
the-
there's a
I'm
guest.
sorry,
There's a guest, there's a
If you
guest,
could CC me on,
there's a
when you
guest.
email it,
It's a
so I can make
GPS
sure it comes
guest.
through.
So if you're in the building, you can get
You
it.
could get it. I'll figure it out.
I'm always here for you.
Okay, it's sent. Let's see what it does.
This is the same thing that I said, like.
If you don't get it in the next 30 seconds, wait till morning. That's,
I'll
And
check it
Kate's
out.
like,
Um,
oh, yeah, no, that's all really.
Amy?
it is."
Before I forget, I want to take this moment to recognize Joan,
Joan.
who has had to follow.
I know, and try to do minutes.
So
That's a great
you're
job.
talking about who the smartest one in the room had to be. You know, in the background, I think she would be having to follow.
Thank you, Joe.
I don't know what line she appears on, but I'm.
Hi, she's with me. Joan is with me.
Thank you all. Joan, you've been a trooper, a real trooper.
Ian, can you see it?
Yes, 70,000 is the first line of a change.
Yes.
Everything above that is blank. Okay.
Yes.
Nurses.
All right, I'm gonna take this time just to go around and see, I don't know, see where we are, what you all are feeling, but make it.
Excuse
quick,
me,
no?
Beverly.
Hey, Joan.
Can I ask Ray to send me a copy as well?
Yes.
Yes. Ray,
Thank
can
you.
send a copy to Joan?
Hold on here, share.
Yeah.
Because we always told her to speak.
Oh, God.
We have a meeting on Monday.
Okay, Joan, what's your last name?
What'd you say, Ray?
What's Joan's last name?
Johnson.
There it is.
JJ.
Okay.
Thank you, Ray.
You got it.
Joan Jett.
JJ. I did, so it's a regular board meeting, so there's Susan, we keep the regular board meeting very short. Very short, I think we have a policy to approve, and no superintendent report, Student rep report, grief committee reports, very, very brief.
Introducing the MLK scholar. She's just gonna be here. She's just gonna say hello. We're gonna just look for her and say thank you.
Okay, so the regular board meeting should last, the most is 1 hour. And then we're gonna go right into the budget. I'm gonna hope to wrap up the budget by Monday. What do you guys think?
Better.
Do you think it's feasible?
I'm gonna give you some suggestions after we work a little harder.
I'll hope and pray. I hope and pray.
Well, not at sea.
There's no hope here.
You may be at sea. I don't feel that. I got good company.
What are your thoughts? Adrian, go ahead.
Me? I think that would be great. My kids have been asking where I am.
Oh,
My husband's always asking where I am.
But,
Always tell them here.
I feel like that's a lot. I mean, yesterday we started going through and we kind of realized that, there wasn't any money to be saved in the school budgets. Or at least not a lot inside like the physics classroom, there's just no money there. But there are some other things, like kind of where that summer school one that we just came to. Ian had the idea of just kind of starting and working through. We skipped some in there. But I personally saw value in that, and maybe we can just line some out to skip that we know where it's just salaries. But I think that we still need to spend some time with this because
Yeah, no, we're not gonna finish on Monday.
and I would like to see it,
All right.
this meeting for Tuesday in the books, and hopefully we can cancel it.
I'll leave Tuesday to you guys. I probably won't be here on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think we need an extra day.
No, so then they're gonna have to defend the budget, not me, because I don't think I'm gonna be here on Tuesday.
Extra day.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I'm inclined to have, to maintain the extra day as
okay.
as a
No, we
fallback.
have it scheduled.
Okay, good.
Today.
Yeah. But do you think if we
It's
are able to?
Possible.
You think
Let's shoot for it.
we can try?
That's all right.
Everybody do their homework so we can focus in on.
If you have any suggestions, send them right
Yes,
my
send it
way.
beforehand if you have
Yeah.
suggestions,
If
so
you've
we
got
can
things
work it
that-
out.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times we're coming to the meeting and then we have all these ideas, we should be doing this, we spend a whole hour what we should do, but we didn't do it. And if we can't do it to next year, but they're yapping about it. And that takes time from really going through the budget. Mike, you smile on that.
Well, on Monday, I'll be around. On Tuesday, I might actually be at sea. So, but I've always found sea to be a great source of hope. I'll go on record.
We can hope and see what happens. But if
We've
you
had
have
different
ideas
travels, apparently.
Or where you can make reduction, please,
yeah.
Sensible reductions, not ridiculous reductions.
You're looking at me.
No, I'm not just looking at you, because I can't say things I like to say.
You're good looking.
Jen will say,
I'll say it for you.
All right, so what do you think, Matthew?
I'd love to finish Monday, but I'm not making Tuesday reservations for dinner.
Good. Jen?
Heck, I'm one to add Wednesday because I think I said this before. I want one copy that Ian drives because he's been driving all along, you know what I mean? And we look at every single page, we're right before we publish it.
Well, if you do
Wednesday,
Wednesday,
we
that's the
have
26th. That's cutting it pretty
Yeah.
close for
Ray's
Ray.
gotta have it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monday's better than Tuesday.
No, what I'm saying is we're still doing Tuesday. I want what you guys consider final, and then we're gonna scrub it. I don't want to see decimal places going out under my name. I don't want left justify going out of my name. I don't want, and I want to make sure all of our reductions, we can go and identify it. And each of the things, no offense, I'm not gonna take you at your word that it's done. I want somebody to say, yup, it's this. And we all, even if it's just 4 of us sitting here saying yup, we all voted, but we all need
Yeah,
to,
vote report.
okay, 5 of us. We just all need to scrub that.
Well,
And-
you could get a copy of it and take a look. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been saying some of those changes and they're still there since January, so I'm not and
What-
well, like on the marketing page, don't look at me like that because it's left justified. There's like, it's stupid stuff.
Center justified.
It's dumb and it looks unprofessional. And if you want the superintendent's one to go out, it went out that way. I don't want the Board of Ed one to go out that way because it looks unprofessional and like we didn't care enough to like scrutinize and scrub. And you always want to put your best foot forward, especially since we work so hard on this. I don't want somebody to just be like, oh yeah.
Once a falcon, always a falcon.
Well, I don't understand, but whatever you say.
You're not
I'm not an accountant person, so if you're saying right, Judge.
You understand what she's saying, Ray?
I understand.
Yeah.
Is that
yeah.
hard to accomplish or?
Only if we try to put it in a PDF and email it.
Oh, geez.
That's a good
Remember
question.
last week,
Yeah,
we justified everything and it blew
And
up
it
all the
messed us up.
formatting.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I want the marketing pages to tie to the green, because it doesn't right now.
Yeah.
Marketing page?
The school pages.
The school pages.
The school pages.
Now, what do you mean it does it now?
Like
They're off by,
it's like things like, it's just what we've been talking about. So two ASL, but one's coded as ASL, one's as hearing.
Building.
Yeah.
Very hard to keep track as you are realizing how schools run. You know, that you've got multiple people in multiple schools sometimes.
I know, but I don't care where they are. If like the end number is 520, the sum of all of those sheets should be 520. Right? I just want it to look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do know they're
Not
gonna
before.
reject it
I
anyway.
have a question about the votes. And this is just because of my not knowing the rules really well, but how many yes votes? Because I'm just thinking if you might not be here on Tuesday and Mike might not be here on Tuesday and Andrea's not here to say if she's going to be here on Tuesday.
A farm.
So would it,
So,
the majority of the people voting, or would it need the majority of the body?
Majority of those present.
yeah, majority of those.
That was probably, all right.
But is there a minimum? I don't remember. Do we have a minimum of quorum? Not just a quorum, though. Okay, so you need a quorum, but there was a rule, for example, the RTM might have a similar rule on the council that motions couldn't pass without a minimum number of people actually voting for it. So let's say that
Right.
you had 5 people there out of 9.
And see, with 3 people here.
And 3 people and then two people abstain.
Yeah, I'm trying to multitask. You're the first one to hop on in 6 weeks. I'm Ray. How are you?
Ray, your mic's hot.
Great.
Okay. Yeah, so you have a motion passed 2-1. And that wasn't allowed under council rules. I don't know whether the RTM had a similar rule like that. We might have something like that buried in our rules. You need a certain minimum number of people to actually pass. Even if you're technically you have a quorum.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Because I'd look for special voting rules for other things.
I mean, it doesn't happen very, very often. I've never seen it happen, but it's theoretically possible. Like I said, you could have a quorum and something pass by just 2 hands going.
And I'll try to join, by the way, on Tuesday. It's just that I know, yeah, it's just, I just know in the past, like, it has, the conditions have to be just right to
Just have to tell Marco, keep it straight. Come on. Stop
keep it
turning.
straight.
I don't
Yeah.
care which way the waves are coming from.
Stop doing that sign.
See, really,
Stay near the shoreline.
this,
So.
I don't see anything about that.
I guess it would be more important if it's Tuesday and you're not here and I have to hold the vote. That's.
That's not what's on the-
This hold the vote,
Bev,
yeah.
we have our sheet that shows our budget hike, et cetera. Would you consider replacing that with the one that shows it compared to the CPI and to the town? That's the one I gave Susan. We consider replacing this. This is what we have now. Which just is the Board of Education budget but put next to it how we're doing compared to the CPI and how we're doing compared to the town. It's very informative. You want a copy? I thought I gave you one, but here's
Can
another
you
one.
send it to me digitally?
I can do that too.
Because I've been trying to collect everything digitally.
Okay.
One other thing before we adjourn is that, that DEI page, you're gonna have to do something.
I gotta tweak it, yeah.
And anywhere it says,
Yeah.
anywhere it says minority,
But
Stays in me? Yeah.
it's not that our belief systems change.
no, it's
Well,
not that I believe so.
Oh, which one?
The DEI, is it page that?
Oh, equal access education is, it's,
Yeah, even the word equal, I don't think you can even have the word equal nowadays.
Not
Equal
American anymore?
access to for all, and all means all.
it was,
Just don't put
You
equal.
can interpret that stuff. any way you
2202 is the function code.
Thank you.
Maybe we could consider and reflect over the next week or two as to whether we should reconstitute what was the special financial
Maybe just
committee.
disperse that money. Was
No, we could reconstitute the old committee and have it look at creating a template for next year's budget.
Oh, what's that?
Resurrect the committee that you chaired,
Yeah.
with or without you.
No,
you
no,
know,
please do.
And, but its function would be to develop and propose a template for next year's budget so that we enter the process, Susan can enter the process when she begins in October, knowing what is expected and how it's going to work and make it life easy for her.
I'm 100% in favor of that idea, and I would love to chair that committee again.
Can we do that?
But we did that.
So Bev, I've got a really quick one.
Damn.
Just, I took it from the town council meeting, what John Burt was saying that, I think it's John Burt maybe, the EFS federal grants, EFS state grants, total EFS grants, they're saying that's like a reporting thing, but it's not extra money.
Yeah.
So we just want that off. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, good.
It's all done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll add that correction.
So,
Funds that technically go through the town that feed back to the board. But he didn't want us to show it as revenue.
Yeah, the unfortunate part about that is it looks like the schools require X dollars to fund, X tax dollars to fund, when that isn't the case. I wish that all of the revenue, whether it comes to us directly or through the town, was shown.
He was saying it wasn't money coming in. It was like extra money coming in. Well,
I know you want to compare apples to apples, year to year, and it looked like with that reporting that, our call on the taxpayers was going down, notwithstanding an increase in the budget. But, sometimes that could be the case.
But what I think what he was saying was it actually isn't even money that the state gives. It's just like you have to report this amount.
Yeah.
That was my understanding, but he would know
Yeah,
better,
that-
much better.
Yeah,
And-
it's things like that. Like if we,
You should get credit for that.
it's things like that. If we can't defend it, I don't want it in our binder. You know what I mean? Like,
I can defend it.
I agree.
Yeah.
So like, if they
yeah,
can't
we are.
justify why that's there, like,
I think
I
that's-
don't want
Jen?
to there
Yeah,
that, like,
so,
we're not gonna be
are we
able
going
to
to adjourn?
defend, you know?
Stay tight, see, when I don't pay attention, see what happens.
Right.
We're done, right?
We're gonna adjourn.
Adjourn.
Can I get a motion to
Oh.
adjourn, and then we can,
I don't think we
So
can.
moved.
huh?
So Andrea just channeled the motion.
All those in favor of adjournment?
Turn off your microphones.
Good night.
Thank you, Ray.